I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it no more.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
He just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
You're heavy because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. You're heavy because you got nothing. You got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
All right. Welcome everybody to the Boxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the True North. It's a good friend, Mr. BDA, flying solo for the moment. We've got ourselves a special afternoon show, ladies and gentlemen, because it is one of those shows where we need to go back and revisit some of the things that happened last night. Don't forget that we did a late show, and so we didn't really get to hear from everybody. So right now, this is the chance for you fellas out there to call in, or to at least, let us know what you had your opinion on the Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders fight. I will be opening up the phone lines in about maybe an hour, depending on how long we go, because I do want to hear from people, some of the people that couldn't call in yesterday. But other than that, man, let me tell you, we've got ourselves a lot to talk about here. A bundle of subjects in regards to last night's fight, a lot of permutations that will need to be discussed. So anyway, without further ado, let's get it on, fellas. Before we do so, don't forget, Mateo. Good news, like Gonzalo said last night, they're gonna take the tube out of his throat. Mateo, of course, his newborn son, for those of you that don't know, who encountered some medical complications, been in the hospital for about 50 days, had pneumonia, so things are starting to look good now for the moment. So shout out to everybody that donated, everybody that spread the word, all of you guys. Thank you. We can't thank you enough. Words are not enough to say how much it means to everybody here that you were able to help Gonzalo and Mateo out. Please, no super chats. Please do not donate with the super chats. We appreciate you guys and your help and everything. But if you got a little bit of something that you can donate, please donate it to Gonzalo and to Mateo. That's the most important thing, all right? Shout out to Iceman. Get these hands, Mr. Straight 50, Sly Tendencies, Lipsy Hustle, Official Scorecard Boxing Signs, LL, Lipsy Hustle, Kit Up Skull, Renegade Sensei, SSB 28, and many more people to come, I'm sure. Fellas, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. And don't forget, we're going to be opening up the phone lines in about an hour, maybe less, depending on how the show goes. So we'll see what happens, all right? Meanwhile, I see we got Jimmy joining me. Jimmy, are you there?
Yes, sir. What's going on, brother?
How you doing, man? Thank you for being on. It's a bit of a early edition here of the show, part 2, because last night was late, and not everybody had the chance to drop by, so we're doing it again, man.
Well, you figure give the UK boys, it's probably getting around dinner time over there, right? You figure if it's, one here, it's probably 4 o'clock over there.
I think they're 5 hours ahead on the, so it's probably 6.
Okay, so even later. So they didn't get a chance to really call in many UK people. I'm sure they got a lot to say.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, did you happen to catch that Andrade press conference after?
Yes, I did, man. You too? I mean, I'm gonna play some audio in a couple of minutes. But did you?
Yeah, you'll get into it.
Mark told me that he was on Dee's show, and he was saying that apparently the reports are that Billy Joe Saunders suffered a what did he call it, quadrupoid, something like that, fracture, and he messaged me the definition of that. He says the zygomaticomaxillary complex fracture, also known as a quadripod fracture, quadramular fracture, and formerly referred to as a tripod fracture, has 4 components, 3 of which are directly related to connections between the zygoma and the face, and the 4th being an orbital blowout. So I guess, I'm not a doctor, but I guess what he's trying to say is with that definition is that Billy Joe Saunders' face was all sorts of fucked up. Yeah, you're just sending me that picture. So just from that alone, Jimmy, it does look like it was broken, right?
Yeah, you can see his face in that picture. If you just you just look real close, try to focus on both spots. Look at his left cheekbone, a little bit of the shine on the light. Now, if you look over to the right, it's not there. It's actually crunched in. It's actually sunken in. So yeah, no, he shattered. Listen, I called him. I questioned his heart a little last night before jumping off sheer emotions. Fight just ended. That kid would have been an asshole to come back out after that. Absolutely. Listen, when you get that kind of a break, there's floating little pieces, right? Could have severed. As it is, guaranteed what it was happening. The minute he crushed it and he fractured like that, small fractures actually entrap muscle inside the fracture, instantly causes double vision out of that eye. And when you have double vision in one eye, it's like in inner ear, you have that, I don't know the actual medical term, but if it floats around, it causes problems with equilibrium. The same thing happens with that. So right away, his equilibrium would have been off. So my point being, on top of, then if he would have continued to get hit after that, it could have severed nerve endings, the shod pieces, and caused permanent nerve damage. His eye literally could have floated up, which I've seen happen. A guy would be looking right at you, and his one eye just starts floating up to the top of looking up to the top of his head. Turns all white. His pupil goes away because he has the muscle that controls the eye is severed. After the kid got kicked in the face, I saw that before. It's ugly, and that's what he could have happened. So he absolutely did the right thing by not coming back out. And what saddens me, dude, it sickens me at the same time. You got people like that woman boxer tweeting out a picture of her hematoma. Oh, I fought for 3 more rounds. Listen, sister, that's great. I understand you joined the sport 3 minutes ago, but that's no different than a bee bite. You got a hematoma. Not being able to see from a swell, yeah, it sucks. Your vision's impaired, but don't fucking confuse it with getting your face crushed.
Yeah,
it was just, and then you get Rougarou or Prograi. He jumped in with, quitting type shit. It's fucked up.
Man, yeah, somebody should tell that girl, listen, honey, why don't you give it a rest? All right, go train, do your thing. We don't need to hear from you right now. And by the way, but Jimmy, though, like I keep saying, though, whether he was justified in quitting or not, because again, that's the big thing in boxing, right? If a guy can't go on and he quits on his stool, or they stop the fight on the stool, it's always about, well, did he quit or not? But these are some of the things that are happening here, or what people are saying on the internet sphere, as I like to call it. This is an article from badleftfoot.com, and it says Canelo versus Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders quitting on eye injury has some recalling his own criticism of Daniel Dubois, because apparently, and this is what other people are posting as well, he made some statements after Dubois quit against Joey Joyce. He said something to the effect of, "Look, man, I'd rather die on my shield and go out on my shield than quit."
Yeah, so, I'm gonna post you a picture right now. Exact words. In 2 seconds, I'll send you the picture. I have it right now. Haymanite sent me that shit while I was sleeping, all that stuff. Hold on.
Yeah, and while you do that, I'm trying to I'm trying to share an image here that Mark sent me of exactly where that fracture took place, but I can't do it right now. But yeah, thanks, Mark. Thanks for the pic. But yeah, like I was saying, look, this is why it's and by the way, people are kidding now and they're saying, oh, hey, that's what's with the bones, fragile bones over there in the UK? Because Kell Brook got his orbital, Joey Joyce, Joey Joyce, Dubois. Actually, Dubois from England, but he's French technically. So, I guess those French bones give out like the French army did in the in World War II. Oh, by the way, we got Gonzalo on the air. I didn't know if he was going to join this early. Gonzalo, you there?
That's cold-blooded, man. French, man. You guys get on them.
Yeah.
Gonzalo, how you doing, man? Thank you for joining us. We're just part 2 here of this Canelo Billy Joe Saunders aftermath. Apparently, it is confirmed that Billy Joe Saunders had a broken eye socket. By the way, I was watching the zone footage that they posted on YouTube. Billy Joe Saunders went very quickly to the ambulance, and then they had the zone people there blocking the cameras with their hands. Like, no, don't film this, don't film this. I'm thinking, why not? It's like, well, what do they have to? I mean, look, it's part of boxing. He got injured, he got hit. Why would they want to block that out? I don't get it. All right, so so this is the quote. I think I can put it up here. Yeah, okay. It says, this is from Billy Joe Saunders' own mouth. He says, I don't agree with a man taking a knee and letting the ref count him out. If my two eye sockets, were broken and my teeth were out, my nose was broken, my brain was beaten, I'm not stopping until it was knocked out or worse. Well, I guess that's why. Oopsie, yeah. That's why you don't talk. That's why, guys, that's why I always say, look, I understand people have trash talk to hype the fight up, but when you go to that extreme of saying, I would never do this, I would never say never, right?
No, keep your mouth shut. And you see that tweet? That's the one the woman sent out, but Rougarou did one too. I don't know if any other fighters. I had just got on Twitter right before you called.
I think I heard Mark.
I can't believe other fighters are saying it.
Yeah, I heard Mark saying that, or Saqib Rafiq. I think he was saying that. I think Amir Khan might have said something, but I can't find any statements from Amir Khan. But I was on board until Mark reminded us that Khan actually quit against Crawford, and I said, "Oh yeah, he did quit from a hip shot too." So, listen, it's a hard sport. I try not to besmirch people for quitting or whatever, but you have to admit there are times where you shouldn't talk all that much. Like I said, whether it was justified or not, the quitting. I've looked at the statement that he Stooges, that Jimmy just sent us. Again, Billy Joe Saunders says, I wouldn't stop until it was knocked out or worse. And he said 2 broken eye sockets. Well, he had 1, and he let the fight be stopped. And again, I'm not expecting him to fight with a broken eye socket, but it's not a good look to talk all that.
It just doesn't look good when you run your mouth like that.
Exactly.
When you question someone's heart. When you say, broken eye socket. So not only, it's not like he's saying, I'd fight no matter what happened. He actually pinpointed and said a broken eye socket, actually 2 broken eye sockets. I'd still continue. And then God said, well, here's what 1 feels like, motherfucker. That was a vicious shot, though, man. I rewatched it. It's loud. It's like crack. He bent right into it. He drove that right up into his face.
Yeah, that's it's like, and the way you described it last night, where you said that most people feel as if the eye is being pulled out. That made me cringe, man. Because it's gotta
like
be
someone's reaching up and just holding on to all your muscles. Like you just instantly feel it in the blur. You get instant double vision, and you stop blinking right away. Like, okay, you're gonna blink it away. Like maybe it's a scratch cornea, but then the more you blink, it affects it even worse. I talked to a few people about that, and it's very dangerous. If he would have continued, he would have been stupid because he had no chance of stopping him.
Yeah, I made a couple of calls too to get to the bottom of broken eye sockets, and from my contacts were telling me it ain't good.
Well, I called a buddy of mine who had his eye. He had that kid Steve. Remember I told him never want to fight.
Yeah, Steve. Yeah.
Yeah, he got his eye kicked in once. Broke his eye.
Oh man! And by the way, when I say that I called a couple of people, I meant I Googled it. So don't think that I'm all connected and everything. But so Steve is the firefighter, right?
Yes, he is. My buddy Stevie. Yeah, he got booted in the eye and got his eye socket fucking shattered.
Hey, Gonzalo,
I just asked him what it felt like, and he said it's fucking feels like something squeezing your muscles.
The aircon. I'm sleeping here next to the ICU. The air conditioner is really, really loud. Is that sound in the background blaring?
I can hear it,
but
it's
we
not.
can deal with it, brother. You're at the
it's not
hospital.
bad.
What time's Mateo? Is he? What did they take it out yet, brother? The tube?
Yeah, in the morning. He's getting a little bit of a blood transfusion, and I went to find a special mask for neonatal, because when they remove the tube, they're gonna put like a miniature mask wrapped around his nose or mouth. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. They should still be in the hospital, but they'll get the tube out.
Gonzalo, I want to ask
Did
you
they
something.
say anything about any? Did you ask about sore throats? What are they going to give me any spray or anything?
One step at a time. Once we
well, just ask because when you get that tube taken out, it's been in there for a while. Sometimes you get a little bit of a sore throat. So if he's crying, if he seems to be crying
for sure,
I just check on that. Yeah, that's all.
Gonzalo, I wanted to ask you something. I know you don't like to hear it, but you're a bit of a tough guy. When it comes to quitting, and this is something that I tried to get through with an AJ video once about how tough is he and whatever. What do you think? I mean, Is it acceptable for? I mean, is it understandable that Billy Joe Saunders was unable to go on with a broken orbital, or do you think he's a bitch after all the talking he did? Well, what's your opinion on that?
No, not really. Honestly, not really. Because look, Marco Antonio Barrera, he said it like he got asked what did he think about the fight and the fact that Billy Joe Saunders quit, that they stopped the fight. There was no other way because if we remember, he said, recalling Margarito when he fought what's his name, Pacquiao. He didn't quit. He remained. But look at Margarito's face now. He looks like fucking RoboCop. You know, he's ruined it.
Yeah, man, it's true. And look, listen. Speaking of busted up faces, man, you guys well, actually, maybe I can share it with you guys here on Discord, but I'm gonna put it up on the screen too. Caleb Plant. This is his face after the Uzcategui fight, where he essentially boxed circles around Uzcategui, but he ate his first share of shots. And look at him, 2 cuts, one under the left eye, the other under the over the right. And
that dude didn't even really catch him with anything.
Exactly. He just, I mean, There were precise shots, but yeah, so I'm thinking here, man, we see what Canelo can do when he hits you in the face. Even if he doesn't hit you clean, he'll break your bones. Again, I have to reiterate what I kept saying last night, fellas, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Would you be, from 1 to 10, how excited would you be if they announced the Caleb Plant fight, and it's the day of the fight, and we get the most excited the day of the fights, even if we didn't really get excited beforehand. But how excited would you be from 1 to 10 for a Canelo Plant fight?
I wouldn't be excited in like, oh, I get to watch this fight. I'd be excited the fact that it shut up a lot of fucking Canelo. Hey, listen, I'm not a Canelo lover, and I'm not a hater. I mean, it's just crazy nowadays. You have to be one or the other. You know what I mean? I'm kind of just lukewarm. I appreciate his abilities. You know what I mean? I still say Triple G won the fight. So to the true Canelo lovers, I'm a douchebag. But yeah, no, I wouldn't be very excited about it because I think Billy Joe Saunders beats Plant. That would be the most boring fight in the world. But yeah,
I would be excited for maybe the wrong reasons that this day and age that you get sucked into. I would be excited to see Caleb Plant exposed because the PBC talk a big game, and this is what he wants to portray. So at the same time, I want to see him face him, so he can kind of get exposed. Not to laugh at the guy, but to bring those guys back into reality. That this is not healthy for boxing. This pretending, fake it till you make it, and when you do make it, just try to stick to your guns and make everybody believe. Well, you're gonna be about it. You're gonna walk the walk, talk the talk. But then we're gonna see that, and it's gonna happen. He probably will get exposed.
Yeah, man. And some people are saying, oh yeah, but if Canelo wants undisputed, well, listen, he can want whatever he wants, but anybody can have a belt. If you're fighting somebody for undisputed, but the other guy, he's not that good, what's the point of getting all the belts? Like, the man makes the belt.
And I was wrong too I said last night, I have to correct myself. I said he had the WBO. He has the IBF.
Oh, well, listen, nobody. How dare you?
I know.
How dare you, Jimmy? How dare you get it wrong, man? How dare you not memorize those goddamn 5, 6, 7 belts that are out there now? Everybody, because there's about 6 or 7 now. Because the WBA has 3 versions, the WBC probably has 2. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. I actually had to go.
Versions.
Yeah, man. I actually had to go back and remember when did I stop giving a crap about the belts? It was 18 years ago, man. That's when I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm done following. Who's got the IBF? Who's got the WBA? I don't care. I don't care.
And the reason I don't hold it against. I mean, who am I? But I'm just saying, I don't hold it against Billy Joe Saunders. That he quit, that they threw in the towel, whatever you want to call it, is because he actually started mounting a little bit of a comeback, and you could actually give him 2 of the rounds prior to the 8th, maybe the 6th and the 7th. So you go figure, if he didn't get time with that one shot, where that wouldn't have happened, who's to say that Canelo doesn't get a little bit more tired out and is not able to land that shot? And Billy Joe Saunders can, just thinking of it, can go ahead and win a few more rounds and then the dynamic of the fight changes, and the latter, in deep waters, where obviously if Canelo's depleted, he couldn't have got that shot off like I just mentioned. Who knows? That's why I'm thinking he gave it a spirited effort, but it's just Canelo's turned into that type of fighter that he believes in his power, like he did against Kovalev, and ultimately he's able to get it done. Somehow he believes that the knockout is coming, whether it's Reynoso telling him remain calm, you're gonna get it. He's getting those type of shots. Even against Callum Smith, where he broke his arm up, he's getting the shots that he needs.
Right. Well, that keeps being. We talked about last night as well. That's essentially it's still Canelo's. I would say chink in his armor, his lack of activity. He can get away with it right now because he's so precise and strong. But you cannot deny the fact that if you push him and somehow you're able to catch him and he can catch you, and if he has to throw a lot of shots, he's not really able to do it. Again, watch the Triple G fight, the rematch. He tried to up it, but he only increased it by about 200 punches. I mean, that's a lot.
His kryptonite is going backwards. He's not fighting or going backwards at all. His stance is conducive to that, the case stance. That's a strictly offensive stance he takes.
He's like a big...
Yeah, did you guys notice how Canelo got a little lethargic in the 6th and the 7th?
Yes.
I thought, man, he's looking tired, but he came back in the 8th with that one shot. What if you don't get that shot, but he got it, right?
Exactly. Very
he
well
missed
said.
by inches, though. You know what I mean? Like he seemed to get a little closer. Then in the 5th, he kind of started winging, and I think Reynoso told him to calm down. You know what I mean? Because he realized, once he had his rhythm figured, he abandoned the body attack. He just knew it was a matter of time. It took him a couple of rounds, but
hey, by the way,
he was
Pigeon,
he's devastating punches. Speed is incredible, man.
Pigeon in the chat says Pigeon in the chat says that the Kelly Plant is Eminem 2.0 and that he doesn't like him. So I guess you can't argue with that. But
token.
Yeah, token. Yeah, the token. Don't forget to hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. Really helps us out. Now, when you guys were talking about the stamina and that he can fight going forward, backward, Canelo, that is, he reminds me of a big vehicle, big tank, a lot of firepower, but it takes a lot of fuel. So, like Gonzalo says, if somebody can figure out that rhythm, I mean, obviously it's going to take somebody with the ability to avoid his shots and to be able to befuddle him. But we saw a little bit of that with Billy Joe Saunders, a little bit in those middle rounds where Canelo was looking tired. He started swinging for the fence a little bit. I mean, I do understand, like Reckon I said, and Jimmy, you said the same thing. Like, Canelo really did know that he was going to break him down. I think that's why he made that 11th round TKO prediction, because he was confident in that. But still, you never know in boxing. So let's say Caleb Plant was more durable than what he is now. He could potentially be a guy who could do that with the movement, with the hand speed, but I just don't think he's going to be able to hold up. And that's the big problem with Canelo's opponents right now. Who can hold up to the firepower and who can hit him enough to make him work? And guys, I think you agree that Benavidez isn't really that guy, right? Neither is Plant.
Because no, Benavidez, he's tall, he's long, he's a young guy. He's got a good engine. He's a boxer puncher. He would give him a lot of problems. Because they're talking about how Canelo's invincible right now. I don't necessarily see that. Because look, before, I know the 68 division doesn't have a lot of history. But you think about 75-pounders or even like middleweights who are maybe not like Canelo short, but they're naturally like, for example, 60-pounders, they're like more like 5'10", 75-pounders like 6'1", that are just naturally given those dimensions that they could throw with power and swing freely. They're not having to load up like Canelo does, where he's only throwing 200 punches, per fight. Like this fight ended in the 8th, but like we're talking about 12-round fight, like 350 punches. Who can throw more freely, and without having to like exert so much energy behind their shots because it's more naturally given to their dimensions. There's fighters that can do that, right? That don't have to, that just naturally can box without having to load up as much. In the past, there is, right? Like let's say 75, like what's that? Bob Foster, 60-pound like Julian Jackson. I mean the Gennady Golovkin. Canelo's kind of made his body to where he's become the bigger guy that he because he used to be smaller, but he's not naturally to what other fighters are just naturally made for in those weight divisions. There has to come one fighter like that. I don't know that can do that, right? That can beat him.
Triple G beat him, but now though it's Gonzalo dropped out. Yeah, but now though it's at 39. I don't think he can do it again. I still think he gives him a heck of a fight, but yeah, Triple G is the only guy who could match his chin power and actually surpass his boxing skills by a little bit. Or at least it was a stylistic matchup. I don't know. By the way, we've got Stu on the line. Stu, are you there?
Yeah, what's happening, boys?
How you doing, Stu? We're just talking about the aftermath of the Billy Joe Saunders. Apparently, Billy Joe Saunders, like Mark told me, that he's hearing reports that it was a what do you call it? Quadrupoid or something like that fracture, which means it ain't good.
Quadruple fracture. Fractured in 4 places.
Apparently, yeah.
I mean, look, the shot, it was a big punch, and he sort of like bent into it, didn't he? He sort of like walked onto it, if you like. But yeah, I mean, it's a devastating shot. This is the problem with Canelo. I mean, that you can be as slick as you want, but he's going to get to you eventually. He's just too accurate with his punches, too precise, and he's just too good. I mean, there's no way you can run from. I'm not saying he did run, but try and avoid Canelo. Not this Canelo, the one that Floyd beat. Yes, this is a different animal altogether. And I said 8th round stoppage. Not surprised by the result at all. But yeah, that's a bad fracture. I mean, we probably won't see Billy Joe in the ring again for another year. I don't even know if we'll see him again. I don't think he's ever had the stomach for it anyway. I think he lost his stomach for boxing a long time ago. I think he was just waiting for the big cash out fight, and now he's got it. But it's a bad way to cash out in it with one fucking eye. But that's the risk you take when you fight people like him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man.
I agree. I think you should retire.
I've got your message, so I'm taking it that you're not very happy with some of these fucking guys that are getting up in their feelings about Golovkin and stuff. I see your message about that. What's going on, BDO?
Well, listen, it's I know you were. This is the thing. It's like I think there's genuinely some people out there that are mentally retarded or something. Because I've had people say, "Oh, you guys are Canelo fanboys." Then we get other people calling us Triple G fanboys. I'm thinking, make up your gosh darn minds, fellas. Listen, we call it the way we see it over here, and sometimes that means we piss off both sides, and that's what's going on here right now. But look, we like this sport as a hobby. We enjoy it. I think it's fair to say that it's our favorite sport, and we're not into the business of getting all torn up.
Yeah, I mean, you got to admit, Bino, we've got a lot of people in our chat that are mostly invested into another man, and it's quite cringe and embarrassing, if you ask me. Get a fucking life, you losers. If anyone with any sort of fucking life is not going to sit there getting upset in their feelings about Golovkin. I mean, who cares about Golovkin? Just who cares about that guy, full stop? Boxing, honestly, Golovkin was an all-time great. I don't get me wrong, he's a good middleweight, and he's a very good fight. And he beat Canelo in the first fight. I do like to keep it real. But he'll be forgot about in 20 years. No one's going to remember Golovkin. What they're going to remember is fucking scraped win against Jacobs and Derevchenko. Or it probably his win against Canelo that he got robbed. The second fight, I don't care what anyone says. I know you had Golovkin winning, but honestly, PD, I don't know where you saw that. But look, it's what you like. I thought Canelo beat Golovkin up quite bad in that second fight. But I must have been on that Colombian again, that high stuff Colombian that I take to do myself. Because I was looking at something different. But look. These guys are really. I mean, it's Golovkin fans. Let's be real. Just say it. It is Golovkin fans up in their feelings. Look how pathetic and petty they were yesterday, and they're attacking me again. I don't care. Like I said, I'll stand my ground with these. Like their guys fighting Murata in December. Nobody fucking cares. The thing is, stop being emotionally invested into another human being's achievements. I mean, it's fucking very sad. Golovkin would have beat Billy Joe. Golovkin got robbed. Canelo's a cheat. Oh, get the fuck out of it. Go and get some pussy for once, and you might not have to worry about what Golovkin's doing.
Oh, listen, Canelo's no angel, man. I dislike the guy. I'm not a fan of his character, but this whole picking sides thing, it's really starting to stick in my craw, if you know what I mean. I mean, I just enjoy the fights, for Pete's sakes. And yeah, we can call out the bullshit. That's what we try to do. But when I hate the most is when people say, oh, you guys said this and that. And I'm thinking, we got an open door policy here. Come on in, call in. If you want me to put a StreamYard link and you really want to get into it, I'll post a StreamYard link. But seldom do people actually take the challenge, because after 4 years of doing this show, I think people are weary. I don't know. It's bizarre, man. They like to talk in the chat, but they don't. Yeah. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
It's cringe.
I did like how he did respond in the press conference when he spoke about Billy Joe Saunders, what he thought about him. It never crossed his mind to judge his character for what he did, for what he said or he didn't say.
Well, hey, can you tell us what he said?
You know, he's a good fighter. He's a good fighter. You know, credit for him making the fight, because without him, this event wouldn't have taken place. And another thing, I like how he spoke about Andrade when Andrade decided to interrupt the press conference. Yeah, that's right.
Mate, I actually think Canelo is quite a funny guy when he's talking English, man. He's a real character. I mean, look, for a guy that doesn't really know much English, he absolutely destroyed Andrade. Andrade was about to cry on his daddy's shoulder when Canelo told him to get the fuck out. You're not getting a fight because you're a horrible fighter. And Andrade looked like he's going to break down in tears. It was epic. I mean, Canelo sounds a bit like Cheech and Chong. It's funny as fuck, man.
Hey, listen, Jimmy brought that up in the beginning of the show, and now that everybody's here, I guess it's a good time as any to play the clip here of Andrade tried to crash Canelo's post-fight press conference. Him along with his father, but anyway, we'll comment on it after.
He sounded, because he said, "You avoided me in 54, you avoided me in 60." No, does anybody remember that?
Exactly.
All the people that are listening to the show that like to follow these narratives, you guys know that's not true.
Well, hold on a second. Let's play the audio here.
I know that. When can we make it happen though? What do you think? What do you think?
You fight with nobody.
Okay.
Hey, you are a champion, but
Wait, you avoided him at 54.
Hey, you fight with nobody.
You avoided him at 160.
You
now you avoid him at 168. Hold on, go ahead. Go ahead, it's okay. Okay, a lot of people haven't fought nobody. Yo, what you mean, though? Rocky Fair, who he fighting? Who he fighting? I just asked you a question. I said, who Rocky Fair to fight, though?
No, the press conference.
What you mean? No, why'd you make him get out of here? Why'd you fuck you? Yo, don't talk to my dad like that, bro. I'll fuck you up. Let's go. We don't get to ask you a simple question. What you gonna do? Fuck you. Get your. Well, get it. Come. Be a bitch. Fuck you. All right. You that tough?
Hey.
You that tough?
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Congratulate you, bro. What's your mouth? What's your mouth, bro?
Hey.
What's your mouth?
There you go, guys, please.
What? Hey, what?
Hey, you are a horrible fighter, man. You never get the fight, man. You are a horrible fighter.
Come beat me then. Come beat me.
Horrible fighter.
Come beat me, bro. Come beat me then.
Okay, next question.
Beat somebody first. Beat somebody first yourself.
You want payday? I know that.
Watch your mouth, bro. Watch your mouth. Watch your mouth. When I see you, it's
Punk.
Yeah. I see you outside. Yeah, man.
We're terrified.
Now, see that in that clip, I liked Canelo's reactions. Like, yeah, I'll see you outside. Like he's clowning him, saying, "You know, we're not gonna fight in the street." So, what did you guys make of that? This whole
right, epic. I think that Canelo just made himself a few more fans. Let's just say it, because I've been reading some of the comments. He just brought out his personality, and as a guy that likes him as a fighter, I don't understand Spanish, so I might as well listen. Well, it might as well be a block of wood standing there when he's speaking Spanish. I'm not getting it. So when he's the English humour he's got's quite funny as well. He's obviously been watching a lot of American movies and hanging around with a lot of the Mexican Americans, because you can tell that his mannerisms. But he destroyed Andrade. He's only just learnt English this year, and he still fucking speaks it better than Andrade. I mean, let's be real. I mean, no one wants to see Andrade in there. I mean, he's had his chance to shine. I want to see Andrade get a big fight, because I think he deserves that, but just not a Canelo fight for me. And like Canelo said, you're horrible to watch.
Oh. Well, it resonates with the people, because it resonates with everybody, because people know that that's true. It's like, the Bible says that the truth, when it comes to this, it's like a sword, that cuts through the bone, even to the marrow. And people know that who the fuck is this guy fought? And he is a horrible. How did he look in his last performance? People know this. Not saying that Canelo in other instances, that he speaks the truth always, but when it comes to this, he sounded truthful.
And can I say, just like, if he was a 168-pound title holder or somebody ranked high in his division, That'd be one thing, because honestly, if you see in the beginning when he says, "Hey, how about you and I get it on?" He was actually being respectful to Canelo. He wasn't trash talking him. He wasn't like, you know what I mean, like running his mouth. He was being, but when you take in everything, when you figure like, dude, you're not even in my weight class, dude. This is glory snatching at its highest. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, are you serious? Now this kid's getting ink. He's gonna get talked about. You know what I mean? And then what? You're gonna go struggle against some domestic level fucking dude? It's just embarrassing.
Yeah,
That's
man.
my
I mean,
point on
look,
that.
I'm gonna try to be fair here and do the compliment sandwich thing. That before I criticize somebody, I do it with a compliment. I throw in a compliment first. Andrade's defensive skills, they'll give anybody problems. But I think now it's become clear that defense alone does not win you fights against Canelo. You need some mustard on your shots. And like Stu and you guys were saying, he struggled against Liam Williams. Now, Liam Williams has very good strength. I mean, he's stronger than most guys. And that's what Canelo has. And on top of that, he has much better skills in punch placement and all that stuff. So Andrade, look, he's done this before. He crashes press conferences, but then it's a circular argument. He says, well, nobody wants to fight me. Why not? Because I'm too good. Well, how do you know you're too good? Well, because nobody wants to fight me. I mean,
because he prices himself out of fights.
Right.
That's what really what comes down to.
And
he demands ridiculous money. He's got an overinflated sense of self-worth is really what it comes down to.
And the thing is, I mean, if he was pricing himself out, but he was great and he wasn't losing rounds or anything, okay, he'd have a point. But the fact that he's struggling against Colkay and Liam Williams, like, look, those guys are good, don't get me wrong, but the way he's claiming it and other people are claiming it is that he's the guy who's going to beat Canelo. His performances against his best opponents do not reflect that. So that's where I start.
Yeah. Well, this is it. Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, look, Canelo's in the business right now where he's making a lot of money, and he needs to put some. All right, I'm not saying a lot of fighters over there probably wouldn't know who Callum Smith is and that lot, right? But right now, Callum Smith has done a bit far more at 168 than Andrade has. I mean, look, what has Andrade done at 168? No one is excited for this guy to fight. Nobody. I mean, no one gets excited when Andrade is fighting. And that's the problem Andrade's got. Yeah, he's a tricky guy, and he can cause a lot of problems to a lot of fighters. He's nowhere near good enough to beat Canelo. You can forget that. If Liam Williams is giving him them sort of problems, what's Canelo going to do? It's going to be destruction. But, you know, I don't think he's in the business of fighting guys that are going to run on their toes and try and nick the fight on the jab. Now, I know Billy Joe Saunders is known for that, but Billy Joe Saunders, bit more about him. Billy Joe Saunders rather get knocked out than and have a go like he did than Andrade. Andrade would be quite happy, like Jacobs, to survive to tell the tale and, you know, class that as a minor victory, should we say, that he's still alive. I hate that in fighters. I'd rather see a fighter go and get knocked out but try to win the fight. Mm-hmm. At least Billy Joe did that.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, he tried a little bit, but then as soon as I mean, look, again, the orbital bone thing, quadrupoid or whatever it's called, like Mark said, it ain't no joke. But I mean, that's what happens when you're fighting a guy with the blunt power that Canelo has. Also, I wanted to say in regards to the whole Andrade press conference, his father does a lot of talking too, and I'm thinking, wouldn't it be at least it would be a little bit more respectable if he did it by himself? But the fact that his father's
he looked like a punk with his father running his mouth like that.
Yeah, and then he goes, don't talk like that to my father. It's like, well, what'd you expect? You're crashing this guy's press conference. You're saying, when you going to find me? When you going to find me? I mean, it's and then his father goes, make us leave. You think Canelo's really going to get up and go, all right, guys, it's time to leave. You know, you've had one too many. You got to go. You know,
the guy, he yells, we'll see you outside.
Yeah, but the thing is, what is it with these Americans, man? These old-ass American guys well past the Selber day, walking around like Bone Thugs and Harmony, still thinking they're fucking tough when they're like 50. Still wearing Jordans and shit. Get the fuck out of it. Who is Andrade's dad? Has he ever... You know, come on, man. I don't even know why he was allowed in the press conference. Let Andrade go in there, say his bit. What's Daddy in there for? Do you know what I mean? What's he going to do? Why is he there? I mean, look, Canelo...
Then he's wearing that T-shirt that says, Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders are both scared of me. Come on, man.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. It says Canelo and Billy Joe are scared to fight Boo Boo. I mean, look, it's you know, he has the goal to say that after turning into John Ruiz against Liam Williams. I mean, it's not that. Look, if you would have outboxed Williams 12-0 and not gotten hurt 2 times in there.
Well, stopped him. Showed him he has the power to stop him. Because if he had the power to stop Liam, then you'd say, well, he's got enough snap on his punches to keep. If Canelo doesn't respect your power, you're done. You're done. And he said it after, in the ring. He's like, well, to be honest with you, it was easier than I thought. He thought he said it again in the press conference. He thought it was going to be harder to figure him out because it wasn't as hard as I actually thought. And at no time was I hurt.
Jimmy, Canelo was born to fight. He's a natural born fighter. I mean, look, tough as they come. I mean, you'd have to hit that guy with a fucking hammer to knock him out. So that alone is going to be a problem for you. And then put the boxing skills in there, the punching power he's got. He's just a fucking really hard guy to beat. This guy, I don't see anyone beating him unless he goes up and bites off more than he can chew with a Beterbiev or something like that. But for now, forget these other guys, mate, because they're going to get the same fucking treatment Billy Joe did. If Eddie Hearn should save himself a few quid and actually just rent a hospital room out for Canelo's opponents, he might as well just rent a room out for the year because he's going to need one, man, because these guys are going to end up in there. Do you know what I mean? Very, very good fighter. And now he's showed a bit of personality. I think Canelo's started to realise he's got to step up and start to carry boxing a little bit. Joshua's like Bolsawood, isn't he? I like Joshua as a person, but he's just no excited. The guy's dull, isn't he? I mean, all he's good for is trying to sell you a set of headphones or sell you a new car or something on an advert. He's just got no personality.
Hey, by the way, Nordic Warrior is in the chat room saying, listen to how aroused these BDA's guys get when they talk about Canelo. Nordic, do you want to post...
Nordic, I see why you're depressed. Nordic Warrior, I can see why you're depressed. You live in Scotland, bro. And Butcho said you're an overweight slob as well. So come on, bro. I can see why. Put the fucking cheap whiskey down, right? Stop hating on the BDA show. We've been quite good to you. We've invited you on. We talk well of you, and you come on here and cry about. Look, your boy Golovkin's finished, mate. His face looked like a fucking a pizza when Canelo smashed into pieces. He's never been the same since. Get over it.
I was going to say, Nordic, do you want me to put the StreamYard link or are you busy again? Because if you're not, I can post the StreamYard link and we can talk about it. Otherwise, I mean, your comments, they're not exactly going to get through all that much. By the way, like Bucho says in the chat, hit the like, fellas. Hit the like. It takes 2 seconds and it really helps us out, fellas. If you enjoy the content, subscribe as well. If you haven't done so already. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
And credit to Billy Joe Saunders because he got the fight where he might have remained undefeated and got it to where during the COVID nobody was getting boxers on the elite level, they weren't getting the big paychecks, but against the money guy in Canelo, he landed the fight, and with 73,000 people in the stands, in it being on the zone worldwide, he must have made good money. And fighters like Andrade, they're peeling their eyes thinking, wow, I'm not even in this division, but I want to fight him because I want to make out like this guy did. Especially if I'm a boring fighter, I'm probably never going to sell, but I'm that close to maybe landing that shot because I want to make people believe that he is scared of me. And I got a lot of people spreading that fake news around that, that this is what I'm going to portray. So he's trying to land that fight. Yeah, like Canelo said, I think, you want to get the payday. You want to get the payday.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's the ale side guy now. It's like with De La Hoya, sure, Leonard, Mayweather back in the day, or Pacquiao. Everybody wants that big payday. It's not a whatchamacallit. It's not a they all want it. But with Canelo though, it's I don't know if most people are willing to take that beating now.
And one more thing, BD, the last. So now, Caleb Plant is probably chomping at the bit, or he's thinking to himself, I'm in a privileged position. I don't know why, but I am. Well, obviously, because he's got the belt. That, he's going to try to get a lot of money.
Hey, by the way, that Mestizo belt, does that make Canelo a true Mestizo now, or is he still a Mexican with Irish genes inside of him? All right, I guess that doesn't make any sense.
Hey, by the way, there's a lot of Irish people. There was a Mexican president by the name of Álvaro Obregón, but his real name was O'Brien. There's a lot of people that colonized Mexico of Irish descent.
Why is that funny stuff?
I'll never surrender to the IRS. Fuck off. Look, I want to address this fucking clown Iceman in the chat who I've just had to time out because this guy just said, "Oh, I was worse than Johnny Boy." Well, this is where these Golovkin fans. This is why they're bottom of the barrel and losers. Usually Golovkin fans. The criteria to be a Golovkin fan is be a geeky little white boy still living with your parents, don't get no pussy, ain't got a car, don't have any fucking future. So just live off Golovkin silver medal achievements at the Olympics. Get the fuck out of here. Right. At the end of the day, what he said about Gonzalo's kid, you said I'm worse than him because I tell the truth about Golovkin. Now, BDA, what I've been saying about these guys, he's just fucking summed it up for me nicely. This guy is saying I'm worse than Johnny, who said he was going to stamp on the kid's head.
You know what sucks though? It's his fans have made you like dislike him because his fans can be so brutal that it forces you to fucking go at G probably harder than you normally would have if it wasn't for these guys saying the silly shit they say.
Hey, listen, man. Nordic Warrior in the chat says Stu has anger issues. Me, on the other hand, it's physically impossible to get me angry. Well, I mean, it's physically impossible to do anything with you because you don't want to come in and talk, man. I put the stream link.
Listen, the thing is, I've got anger issues, but I've got balls to come on here and fucking express my anger issues. I got the balls to do it. You fucking. Well, say no more, Nordic. I used to like you, Nordic, but you're becoming a real piece of shit lately.
Well, it's the Canelo.
Canelo, come on. I've seen some of your videos, piping up these fucking Euro bums. Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Listen.
Stay in your lane in the north of Scotland somewhere in some fucking igloo somewhere and just stay in your lane, bro.
Yeah, listen, the Canelo, every time he fights, he just, I don't know, it's like with Trump derangement syndrome. Some people just go nuts, man. I don't know what it is. But look, if he doesn't want to come in and talk, I guess, I mean, that's Nordic. I don't know what to tell you, man. Chris K says, I donate to Gonzo already. Just want to support the channel too. In the Triple G Canelo rubber match, I want both guys to trash talk in English. Oh yeah, that would be that would be interesting. By the way, fellas, in the StreamYard, I'm waiting for I put it out for Nordic, so I'm not gonna go to the StreamYard yet unless he shows up. And I don't think he'll show up though, so it's not looking good.
Well, I'm a big Triple G fan. I don't want to see that third fight. I mean, I would have liked to seen the first fight 2 years sooner because I think it would have, you know, I mean, again, you just can't. I just think that's huge. It shows how devastating Canelo is and what it does to other people. And think about, he threw his belt away and waited 2 years before he'd fight him. That says a lot. So, but now I don't want to see it. He's too old. Canelo, it just wouldn't be fair. I think Canelo's speed is too quick now. And so, yeah, that's just my.
Oh, hey, listen to this. Oh, don't like the English guy. He's going on about people's personal life. Yeah, damn right I'm talking about their personal life. They need to get a fucking life. How about that? Yeah, I've got anger issues because I've been dealing with you fucking clowns for years. And for what? Every time there's a Canelo fight, you guys are up in your feelings like you've just been dumped by some girl. Oh, but mind you, now you guys can't even get a fucking girl, so how's that going to happen? Honestly, you're sad, bro. All of you that come on here, give me shit about getting your feelings because I say stuff about Golovkin that's true. If Golovkin was doing the business, I'd come on here and praise him like I do any fighter. But, you know, for me, he's not doing the business right. And the guy who is doing the business, he's the fraud. I mean, Matty has had the cheek to say Canelo is part of the Mexican cartel now, apparently. And they're calling the shots. And, you know, they had a word with Billy Joe that he wouldn't, if he didn't want his head stapled to a fucking bonnet of a car, then he had to throw the fight and stuff. Come on, when are we going to... No, when are we going to fucking keep it real around here? I mean, look, I don't care about Skelbrook. I mean, anyone calls themselves Skelbrook, I don't want on the show anyway. I don't want on the chat because you sound like a fucking retard. And we've got enough of them as it is. So look, yeah, I'm up in my feelings. Damn right I'm up in my feelings. That's what this show's for me to come on here and tell you guys what you're about. Because I'll probably go missing again for a couple of weeks because I can't bear you lot. Honestly, I cannot fucking bear you lot anymore. Especially, you got the rest of you are all right, these Golovkin fans. I mean, they've made this event all about them again, haven't they? Because they're going to.
By the way, hold on. Stu, sorry to interrupt, but Nordic says, BD, I'm at my girlfriend's mother's house right now. At Sunday dinner, I don't quite fancy getting into it with Stu. Okay, so he's at his girlfriend's, but he keeps posting non-stop here. I mean, come on, it's Nordic. All right, listen, you don't want to come in.
Hold on a minute, babe. Stu Little's addressing me. That's more important right now.
He's always busy, excepting when he's on other shows.
He's sitting with his missus. Yeah, he finds it more important to address me than to sit and talk with his missus and spend some time with her. So I'm winning already. Don't do a Kev on me. Nordic, don't do a Kev on me. You know, when he goes to sleep, he starts calling my name out in his sleep, and his missus thinks he's having a homosexual affair with a guy called Stu. Don't be doing that.
Yeah, it's like, hey, no. Hey, when are we gonna serve the turkey dinner? Not yet. Hold on, I'm getting it on with Stu over here, okay? And BDA, and I gotta keep it straight with this fellas over here. Gotta call it the way I see it. Really, you do?
Fucking Stu.
I mean, come on, man. Just come on for 5 minutes at least, man. That's all I'm asking.
Yeah, look. A lot of the stuff I say is tongue in cheek because it is all banter with these Triple G fans. Obviously, I speak to a lot of them and I do get on with some of them, but they are fucking cringe and they really need to evaluate their lives, the way they're getting upset about. If Canelo got knocked out by Billy Joe Saunders, I wouldn't have given a shit. I'd have been like, oh, fair play, Billy Joe, new pound for pound #1. That's how boxing works. But to get in your feelings when your guys not even fighting, you know, I just don't get it. And like I said, for BDA to message me and say you lot are fucking pissing him off as well. I mean, I'm sorry for calling you out, BDA, but you won't do it yourself, so I've got to call you out. I've got to have you back in my corner here. I can't have you staying quiet. These guys need to be addressed. They're fucking pathetic.
Well, it's like I'm saying, it's like we can't enjoy boxing. It always has to be like, you know what, people say, oh, you know, I keep it real. But then they go ahead and do the same thing with another fighter, but they don't call that other fighter out when that same fighter, does some of the same shit that the people they criticize do. So that's when I started saying,
weird?
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's weird, BDA. Like seriously, like I go on Twitter sometimes and I'm like, God damn, I grew up with Mickey Ward, like, you know, since we were little kids. And these motherfuckers are more emotionally invested in these fucking guys' fights than I was when he was fighting Arturo Gotti.
Jimmy,
yeah.
you know they are. You know that if Golovkin post a post up on his face, it don't matter what these guys are doing. These guys could be fucking bashing the back doors in of some fucking fitty, and they'd stop on the job to read the fucking Golovkin's post, wouldn't they? Oh, it might be it's an update. Oh, he might have a bit of fight announcement or something. These guys, I mean, they love this guy. I mean, you can imagine it. You go in their house and you've got Golovkin shrines in the corner. I mean, come on, man. Look, don't be invested. Enjoy boxing. Yeah, love boxing. Don't just love one guy, because when he's retired, then what? It's like the Wilder fans. They're running around with their fingers up their ass because they don't know what to do with themselves anymore. Because their hero's he's lost the plot. So he's not fighting well. I don't know, we'll be fighting soon, but they've had to wait a while, haven't they? So they don't know what to do with themselves. So that's what happens when you invest in one guy. You know, invest in the sport.
It's because they're both good fighters, but if you say, oh, I like both, that doesn't sound controversial. And a lot of people lose attention, right?
The reason why, just to touch on Wild, I don't know if you guys heard too, I heard both Golden Boy, which is weird, and both PBC are trying to work something out with Triller. To sign with Triller.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it's befitting of Oscar De La Hoya to move to Thriller because he's a degenerate. It fits his character. It's like Sodom and Gomorrah over there.
That. PBC needs something because if it's true as Fox bounced them on their third years, I mean, cutting them out in the fourth year, I don't know what all these guys are going to do. They need a home to fight.
Well, listen, there's homes with Matchroom. You got the Zone in there. You got Showtime. They seem to, if they're willing to make the big fights with them, I guess they can make them. But yeah, the PBC right now, it's the people that are saying that Canelo's going to sign in with them, it's not going to happen. By the way, people on the StreamYard, I'm waiting for because I wasn't going to even open up StreamYard today, so I'm just waiting for Nordic to show up. That's what I'm doing. But he says he's busy now. He stopped. Now he stopped altogether texting. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. Anyway, listen. Because let me make a statement here. Look, I understand boxing is full of shenanigans and controversy, and there's a lot of things bad in there. But when you start fanboying, and it keeps going on and on and on and on, and then you start bringing it over here. At some point, I'm gonna get tired of it. I'm a human being. Oh, by the way, the aforementioned Nordic, is that really you or you? Never.
Yo, can you guys hear me?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not at home at the minute. I'm not using my usual device. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. It's good to see. It's good to see you found your balls and called in. I respect that, Nordic.
No, can I just address BDA a second?
Yes, please.
You said to me in the chat, or you might have said it on here. You said that every time you ask me to come on, I'm always busy. You've only ever asked me to come on twice.
That's right.
And that was the other day and now.
Yeah, and you said no, so that's
yeah,
every time I've asked
I was busy.
All right, well, you're here now,
And right now I'm not at home. I'm at a family member's house.
Okay, well, you're here now, and we don't want to keep you on too long. But I'll you start, man. You tell us what is the problem here.
I don't know. What is the problem?
You're the one that's started in the chat, so you tell me, man.
I was just taking the piss in the chat. That's what I do, man. I come onto the chat and I troll. You guys know that.
I don't know that,
I don't know
actually.
why you would get so angry and take it so serious.
Well, listen, I don't know that because I know you. I've watched your channel a couple of times, but I'm not all that familiar with you because it's not like you're here all the time or that I'm in with you in another stream. So I didn't know. Listen, it's hard to tell when some guys are trolling or not, but you were getting into it.
Look, when I say something like, listen to how aroused these guys get when they talk about Canelo, that's not the type of thing that you get offended by or take too seriously. I mean, come on, man. You guys are like twice my age, and I wouldn't get offended by something like that.
Well, I don't know if I'm twice your age, but I will ask you this then. So what's your... Because I've heard you say this on other channels, and you weren't kidding around. All Canelo's fights are fixed.
Well, I believe most of them are. I do. Okay. And that's my opinion. You don't have to agree. Come on. Right? You don't have to agree. I might troll in the comments.
You got to listen. But give some if you can't come with facts, at least reasonable evidence. You know what I mean? Like,
honestly,
do you have any evidence, or is it just 100% gut?
If you want to hear me break down why I believe his fights are fake, I've made many videos about Canelo going back 5 years or so, where I've talked about a lot of the
I'll go check them out. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. I'll check them out.
Sorry, what was that?
Hey, can I just cut real quick, BDA? Steve Kim tried to call in earlier. I sent you a message. Do we have a line we could send him or something so he doesn't have to, call through?
Get Stevie Boy on here. Get Stevie Boy on here. And I just want to address someone quickly while you get back to Nordic. I mean, I've got a few American. You can tell they're Americans because they're getting offended, and that's what they do best. The woke little bitches. And my guess, LDBC little woke bitches, getting offended because I'm getting personal with people. Listen, this is years and years of just the same stuff, and it's called coming to the end of your tether and just exploding. And I mean, this show is about Canelo haters and Canelo lovers, and this is why we're here to address them. And I'm going to address the Canelo haters, and a lot of these guys are Golovkin fans. And look, we've put up with these guys long enough. If you're going to get offended and be a woke little bitch, then get the fuck out of here. Go and attend one of your Black Lives Matter marches or something, and be offended there. We don't want people like you around. And you call yourself the Philly and all that, like some sort of fucking gangster. You're getting offended by an English guy calling Golovkin fans, names. I mean, you people are pathetic. Honestly,
all right, now, but let me just get back to Nordic because I don't want to keep him on too long. I know he's busy. Look, Nordic, one thing I don't know, because again, you tell me, because you say you're half kidding, half trolling. You've called us out Canelo fanboys, but you say you're kidding about that then.
Well, there's a lot of, many a true thing said in jest. I think that a lot of the time you guys obviously ignore certain just blatant things about Canelo. 1 minute, I'll be back in a minute. 1 sec.
All right. Well, listen.
But didn't he also say we're biased for Mexican? Where the station is pro-Mexican.
But I mean, I'd like to hear about that too. I don't know if he's going to say that he was kidding or whatever, but he's saying that there's truth in jest. So. I'm waiting to see what happens there. And by the way, to Steve Kim, if you're still listening, Steve, I'm going to open up the phone lines in about 5 minutes. We got a lot to get to here, man. We got a lot to get to here, and just want to straighten some things out.
Are we actually allowed to show emotions anymore around here, or are we going to have the Americans control our emotions as well? I mean, stop telling me to relax. Stop telling me to relax. I don't want to relax anymore.
You're on fire today.
Stu said a minute ago he was calling me.
Recognizes it. I know he recognizes that. I'm a little pop.
All right, hold on, fellas.
Taking a few little shots in on the body.
Hold on, fellas, please. Hold on, fellas, please, because we got a lot to get to, and I can't have everybody talking over each other at the same time. Ignore it. Go ahead, man.
No, I was just saying, like, Stu was calling me a Triple G fanboy about 5 minutes ago, and that's totally fine.
No, I didn't.
But the point is, I never even brought up Triple G. I never even mentioned Triple G's name.
I never called you that. So what are you saying? What are you lying for? I never called you Triple G.
You did call me that. You said, Triple G fanboys hating on Canelo, and you were responding to my comments. And the only reason I'm bringing that up now,
I was addressing the Triple G fanboys.
Is complaining about me calling
but I wasn't actually saying you was. Well, it doesn't matter. You are a Triple G fanboy. How about that?
When was the last time I made a video or said anything about Triple G?
Don't matter. Your
When was the last
your
time I
hatred for
mentioned his name
Canelo
in the
is
comments?
through your love for Golovkin. I know. You don't have to do videos about Golovkin.
All right,
I
then.
know.
All right, okay.
Well-
If that's what you think, Stu, that's fine. God bless.
All right, now let's get it back to the main guy, me, because I'm the most important here. You said that we were pandering to the Mexican crowd. Can you give me an example of how we've pandered to the Mexican crowd?
I said what? What did you say?
Oh boy, I think we got a bad connection because all of a sudden Nordic can't hear us. You said we were pandering to the Mexican crowd by dick sucking Canelo. Can you give me an example?
I'm pretty sure that was a 100% joke, BDA, and the fact that you even took that serious is a little bit worrying, to be honest.
Well, I don't know when you're kidding or not, because I don't know when you're kidding or not, because you also told Johnny Boy that you were gonna genuinely miss his content of him being shirtless and asking for.
What's wrong with that? I told Johnny Boy he needs to stay the fuck off the internet.
Well, what I'm saying is,
out, and I used to enjoy his content. Stu said the exact same thing. So what's the problem?
Well, the problem is that when you say you're generally going to be, hold on, relax. Nordic, take it easy. Let me talk, please. Well, you said you enjoyed his content, which is him shirtless asking for Nordic. Take it easy. You said you enjoyed his content of him being shirtless, asking for super chats, and calling everybody.
No,
a
I didn't
bum.
enjoy that.
Okay. Well, you said you enjoyed his content. All right. Now listen. Now we got that straight. Now you said you were joking about us being Mexican dick riders.
I didn't enjoy any of the begging for super chats or any of that stuff.
Nobody
so
did. Nobody did. No, nobody did. But listen, the point is, okay, so you're saying I'm not pandering to the Mexican crowd. Because listen, when Estrada and Chocolatito got it on, I wasn't rooting for anybody in particular. And I call it the way I saw it. Gonzalez won that fight. If I were pandering to the Mexican crowd, I would have been like, órale, el gallito, man. He won the fight. 8 rounds to 4. I don't do that type of stuff. I try to stay.
That would have been an easy fight for you to do it on, too.
Well, listen, I try to stay.
The problem is, boys, when they don't hear... This is not Nordic. I'm talking about these guys in general. When they don't hear what they want to hear, they get angry, and then they start turning on us, and then they just start making accusations that are not true. Like, how can you be a Golovkin fan channel and a Canelo fan channel? I mean, you can't be both. You know, and so it's just this is the problem. I mean, look, they get quite emotional, and then they start calling us names and start making lies up about us, and that's why I get angry. Because look, this is not just one fight. This is not just one show. This is years of this.
Well, listen, can I just say to Nordic then? Look, listen, it's hard to know sometimes. You know that when somebody writes something, it's hard to know whether they're kidding or not. But look, you and I, we agree on a whole lot of things, and so I just wanted to get this straightened out. Because I mean, when it comes, after somebody makes the same joke over and over and over again, and I'm not sure if they're being truthful or if they're being facetious. I just have to question what's going on here and getting straightened out. So I'm glad we straightened it out. I don't know if I'll give you the last word. Go ahead, because I know you're busy.
No, I've got nothing to say, honestly. Like just see from now on, don't take me too seriously. Like if I say something in the comments and somebody like Stu gets riled up or whatever, just honestly take it with a pinch of salt, right? Because I know that we're all grown men here, and sometimes I forget that some of these people who are twice my age are nowhere near as mature. Sometimes I forget that. So from now on, just
you're not showing maturity by trolling. Hey, but you're not showing maturity by trolling in the chat for a start. I mean, what grown ass man goes into a chat and just starts trolling for something to do? That's not maturity where I'm from, bro. That is not maturity. So look, I like you, Nordic. I think
it's a lot more mature.
You are a nice guy, but come on, man.
Stu, can I just say, it's a lot more mature than coming on here and getting pissed off and calling people fat fucks and saying they live with their mothers. It's a lot more mature than that. You won't catch me doing that. Is all I'm saying.
But it's still immature, though.
I didn't say. Butcho called you a fat fuck. I said, according to Butcho, you're a fat fuck. I didn't call you personally.
We're gonna get into who's fat and who's not. Listen, like at least.
Anyway, stop crying, Nordic. End of the day, right? You give it out, take it back. If you can't take it, then don't be it. If you want to give it out and give it the big one in the chat, then be a man and take it back. Like you said, you keep telling us how mature you are, but.
Well, listen, I'll say this.
No, Stu, I didn't say I was mature. I just said I'm a lot more mature than a lot of people on here.
I'll say this.
I was mature.
I'll say this. I'm immature because I like to troll a little bit myself. But at some point, I know when to troll because I don't like to do. Yeah, just a little bit. I don't like to troll with people that don't really know me because they're not gonna know if I'm trolling or not. And at some point, you got to reveal, okay, I'm trolling. Because then it can just get straight up annoying. Look, listen, we all have our limits.
Yeah, because I just don't. You'll never see me go. You never see me go on another channel doing that. Never. No one will ever see me go on another channel trolling in the comment section. I just don't do it.
Yeah, you got that point across. Now, Nordic, go back to your woman. Let's talk about this fight.
Yeah,
we got Steve waiting in the wings. I almost felt kind of fucking embarrassed, keeping Steve in the wings for this conversation.
All right. Well, listen, Nordic, thank you for.
Yeah, well, Jimmy, you should have jumped in then. Do you know what I mean? We didn't.
Oh no, I'm not saying you, dude. Not
trying to
you,
dress
Stu.
these clowns, brother. They're just
No,
winding me
dude.
the fuck up.
Listen,
Bro.
I say it all the time, dude. I've heard the shit you've taken. I would have lost my mind a lot longer. In fact, I get worried sometimes. How long do I really want to do this? Because I've seen what it's done to you after years of taking it. And I'm just like you, dude. I'm very hot-blooded too, brother. Don't get me wrong. I'm afraid to open up that can because I'm afraid I won't be able to close it.
I'm gonna be in the fucking nut house, man.
It's gonna be in the fucking Stu. I'm gonna troll you just a little bit in friendly.
I know you are. Go on, brother. But I love you. Recognize. I'll let you do it, bro.
Stu, you must really hate Billy Joe Saunders, right? Because I almost felt like he stopped Golovkin last night because you were on fire, bro. You got out here. I thought he knocked out Golovkin. I said, wait a second, who did he beat? Who did he just beat? Did he? I'm like, maybe Stu really hates Billy Joe Saunders with a passion. I'm thinking that's what.
Look, I suppose. Look, I'm not a big fan of Billy Joe. I mean, he's done nothing for me to be a fan of his. About obviously, I like his boxing skills. He's a talented kid, obviously. And look, it was more about. It was a lot of it was tongue in cheek to get at the Golovkin fans because I know how emotional some of them are. And I'm not cussing you because one thing you don't do is get emotional about boxing. That's one thing you don't do, and I'll give you that. Nor does Jimmy. I've never seen Jimmy. Jimmy will lose it about other things, but not boxing. Well, I lose it about boxing quite a lot. But it's just, you can remember, I'm on the end of a lot of stuff that you guys ain't. That's the difference.
All right, well, listen. I got to step real quick, because again, we got to get the drama sometimes every once in a while. We can't just talk fucking boxing all the time and the jab.
Oh, no, it was just talking about him. He was just that kid, Nordic. He just started repeating the same thing.
I know. But I got to say bye to Nordic because I know he's busy and we got Steve on the line. Nordic, thank you for being on, man. I'm glad we hashed it out. And drop by whenever you want, man. All right?
Nordic has a great channel. Peace, Nordic.
All right.
No, I just wanted to troll.
Nordic, you're always welcome here, bro. You're always welcome here, Nordic.
That's right.
I just wanted to troll Stu a little bit, and I got to run, man. But I'll be listening.
Recognize, you know I love you, brother. You know I love you, don't you?
Be good, Recognize.
All right.
I recognize. I could hear you get a bit upset last night when I was sticking it to your boy. I could hear your voice, but I know you too well now. I could recognize that Puerto Rican temper was coming out.
Is Stu coming at me? I feel like you were coming at me for some reason.
Oh, recognize. Don't be daft, man. Come on, bro.
I'm messing with you. Bro.
Yeah, man, you know that. One thing, recognize. I won't come at you like that, bro. You keep it real down the middle. You're not a fanboy, and you don't get personal with me over another man's achievements and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Hey, phone lines are open.
Gentlemen. Peace, gentlemen.
Take it easy,
I gotta
Recognize.
run. I'll definitely be listening.
Yeah, you better, man. What the fuck? Yeah. Listen, here's the other thing. That the problem with Nordic calling us out is that I actually had planned on doing like a Mexican campaign to get more Mexican fans. Now I can't do it because then it really is going to look like I'm pandering. Fuck. See, now I'm pissed.
It's only the ethnicity that really keeps the sport alive in North America, but we shouldn't pander to them.
No.
I'm saying know what I am.
We should. You know what I mean? We should never disrespect the Mexicans.
You never really see any other channels doing that. I mean, there's only one faction that panders to their own race, and we all know who that is.
Yeah.
Other than that, most other channels, they never actually try to do that. So I think everybody's in a good position, other than the dreaded LDBC. So I'm glad we hashed.
Some of those guys aren't bad either. BDA. I was listening to this guy Blood. He's not that bad. He's just, some of the LDBC, they got good channels too. Honestly.
No, look. So I've listened to a couple of their vids, not over the months, and look, there's a couple of the guys out there that are quite good, good boxing analysts, and that, they try and keep it down the middle as much as they can. Look, we've all got a bit of bias in this. It's just a natural thing.
That's right.
So any sport you see, you're going to try and back your countryman, but.
Yeah, I don't even know what I am, though. I'm kind of like Lennox Lewis.
Kind of.
No, one's got
Mexican. Am I American?
No one's got more nationalities than Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis has actually got more flags in his home than the fucking United Nations building us. Do you know what I mean? The guy's got.
Who knows where he's from?
I mean, he's claiming all sorts of nationalities. He's going to come back as. He's going to come back as an American when he fights. Who's he fighting? Is it Holyfield again or someone? Who's he fighting? I think he wants to fight.
Does he live in America?
Yeah,
where
well, I
he
don't
lives.
know.
Anyway,
He's got about 10 different nationalities. He lives anywhere. He can't.
fellas, hold on. We got a phone call here. I think it's Steve. I hope it's Steve. Hold on a second. 323. Is this Steve?
Guys, how do I follow
Yes, it
Nordic?
is.
Boy, that is a tall task. Gentlemen, how are you?
All right. Hey, Steve. Thank you for being on, man. Yeah, we're doing good, man. How about yourself?
Yeah, good. I'm doing well. Look, if I'm panting a little bit, it's because I'm on the treadmill. Actually, the Nordic climber, or no, actually the elliptical. I'm getting my workout and had a busy night of drinking last night watching the fights. Had a good time. Just wanted to check in. It's been a while, and guys, I want to make one point about Canelo. No matter how good or bad you think he is, or whatever his record is, I posted this up on Twitter, but this man has fought 3 times in 140 days. And look, that doesn't make him Archie Moore or Henry Armstrong, but put this into perspective. If you look at the rest of the Ring magazine's top 10, where he's number 1, you look at the other 9 guys, they're actually guys that have fought before December 19th, when he faced Callum Smith, who still don't have a fight yet, or have not fought yet, and don't even have a fight announcement that's formally made. And this guy's going to fight probably in September. I don't think there's any doubt, whether you hate him or love him, Canelo is carrying the sport of boxing. Can anyone deny that right now?
Well, Steve, but that's kind of smart because he is the money guy, and every time you fight, even if it's a yield room, he's making a lot of money, right? So,
and I think, Steve, honestly,
here's my point. But here's my point. How could a guy that already has hundreds of millions of dollars be more motivated than guys that have made a sliver of the fraction of the smidge that he has? I actually think the problem we have is, yes, can Canelo control his date and force his economic leverage for a guy like Eddie Hearn to say, hey, I want to be more active? Yes. But I think this whole business needs a reset because boxing is better off when you have the stars actually perform more. I really think right now Canelo's the only guy keeping up his end of the bargain.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's
I was actually,
yeah.
I was actually offended when Spence stood up and waved. I was like, "Sit down, dude." Seriously. I was so pissed. But Steve, I think also with Canelo, he realizes, as you well know yourself, the reason why he's hitting at a 35%, connect rate, and he's sharp the way he is. You've got to, rust. He knows the importance. I think the fights with Triple G showed him the importance of not getting ring rust.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Spot on, Jimmy. Spot on. I mean, this is what people don't realise how important it is to keep busy, because timing is a thing you'll only get in fights, and sharpness. You can't get that in sparring. It just doesn't have the same effect. And that's what Canelo's doing. 3 times a year is a perfect year for anyone that's going to fight 3 times. He's going to make good money, and he's keeping in shape. He's keeping sharp, and that's why there's no coincidence he's now in the best form of his life, because he gets better and better. I mean, there's going to be a time when he starts to deteriorate, of course, but he's just growing and growing. He's just looking stronger and more invincible every time I see him. And then you've got these guys like Billy Joe who fight once a year if you're lucky, and basically having to drop so much weight. And this is why, have you noticed, a lot of these British guys, their cheekbones are starting to crack, because a lot of them are fucking out of shape. When they're out of camp, they're getting drunk and doing. I'm not saying Billy Joe does coke, but I know Kell Brook likes a few, and there's a few other fighters that do. And then when you're blowing up to 195 pounds, and then you're dropping 50 pounds, that's apparently when you lose that sort of weight, that's what starts to weaken your bones.
Vitamin deficiency.
Yeah, see, this is no coincidence. Kell Brook, another one, constantly fighting his weight, and broken cheekbones. Billy Joe constantly fighting weight problems, cheekbones, and it's just no coincidence. I mean, Inui got his cheekbone broke. Basically, he was fighting and he was draining himself to fight in the division he had no business in for years. So it has effects on your strength of your bones, and this is why have you noticed a lot of these injuries are starting to happen now more than ever? I mean, all right, they had them injuries, but we're seeing them all the time now, and that's because these fighters are not fighting at the weight they should be.
Stu, we had Joe Goosen in studio, me and Mario, last week, and I asked him, is it better and would he prefer more fighters do what Canelo's doing? And he gave a great analogy. And he said, yeah, it's like practicing any sport, doing all the drills, trying to get better. but actually never playing a game. And trust me, I know this as a very slightly above average high school baseball player. I practiced a lot, but I didn't play enough in the off season, and I always thought it hindered me. You have to go out there. You can go out there and say, well, I've been in camp, I've stayed in the gym for a whole year, I've sparred a lot. Okay, so if you spar for a whole year, all you're really doing is getting used to getting hit with headgear and bigger gloves. It does not replicate a fight. And I'll make a bet right now, dollars to donuts, that Canelo Alvarez and Andy Ruiz basically fought 7 days apart, that Canelo will get back to the gym much sooner than Andy Ruiz because he's a committed professional, and Canelo is putting everyone else to shame in boxing. It is what it is. Without him, I don't know where the actual game is outside of a few big events with YouTubers. I know that's kind of harsh. It might be hyperbole, but that is how I feel.
And listen, you're not wrong, man. I mean, Joshua versus Fury. What's going on with that? I didn't even want to. I haven't even tried to talk about.
Guys,
Yeah.
well, here's another thing. Speaking of inactivity, since February 22nd of 2020, when Fury and Wilder had their rematch, the trio of Joshua, Fury, and Wilder have fought a combined one time.
Jeez,
think about that. They have fought one time, not one time each.
Terrible.
One time total. And you're going to tell me, like I've told you before, that this is some super fight, this money grab in the desert? I don't know what's going on. Really, nobody does, because every other day I'm getting word, Steve, it's trending like it's happening. And then 48 hours, it's trending that it's not. And then it is. And then it's not. And it's an emotional roller coaster. I mean, I almost feel sorry for Mark Kriegel giving these updates on this site feed. And I'm thinking to myself, Mark, I don't know if it's you doing it or the ESPN editors, which I suspect is the case, are forcing you to do it for the hits. But there comes a point in time, gentlemen, that don't report on this thing till it's a done deal.
Yes.
And I don't know what's going on. At this point, I'm getting the sense that nobody really knows, not even Eddie Hearn. And I've never seen a situation where, and I give Eddie Hearn a little bit of credit, it seems to me like he's the one doing all the heavy lifting here. And I have a theory why. Because if this fight with Joshua and Fury does not happen next, Joshua has a mandatory against Alexander Usyk, which I don't think anyone on that side of the fence wants to fulfill at this moment. Because I think that's a very dangerous, difficult style, even with Usyk being as inactive as he's been recently.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, it's a whole mess. I didn't even want to bring it up, but I wanted to ask you.
Well,
in regards,
apparently Eddie Hearn says a fight's already signed. It's just obviously when you're doing a fight with that size, there's going to be certain details that need to be sorted in the contracts. But he reckons that fight's signed, ready to go. So,
yeah, man.
yeah, I'll be very surprised. I'd be very surprised if we see Joshua Usyk next. I mean, I think like Steve Kim said, no one this side of the pond, or even your side of the pond, wants to see that. I mean, we want to see. And look, you got to see. Look at the reception Fury got at the Canelo fight. I mean, he was, you know, mobbed by the Mexican fans. I mean, Tyson Fury's a big name himself. I mean, that fight with Joshua is just, it's just huge. I mean, that is the biggest fight in boxing, and that's got to be made. And look, this could be the savior. Canelo and Joshua and Fury can actually save boxing. But well, I'm not saying it's in a real bad place, but they could obviously get it back to where it was at least. And we need that fight to happen because Canelo's doing his side of the bargain.
No,
it's now Joshua.
I don't disagree with you. Stu, I don't disagree with you on that. But here's the problem that I have with this whole negotiation. They're almost making it sound like, and I could be wrong, that if we don't get XYZ number, there's no fight. Even though, let's say you only get 75% of that goal, and it would be by far the biggest payday in all of boxing, that you're not going to take it. So if you're going to demand, I'm going to make up a number here. Well, we need a $175 million site fee to satisfy both sides. Okay, what if it's, quote, only $154 million? To me, you play the market. Whatever's the highest bid, take it, do the fight, let's run the business, let's keep things moving. Like, you have to play the market. Like, guys, I'm doing some cryptocurrency thing. I'm not a big player, But I don't get to say, well, I like Bitcoin, but I liked it at $5. No, I have to play the market. I play the current market as it stands. I don't get to say, well, I want it at this price. Well, if I don't get it, what do you do?
Exactly.
So
Hey, side note, Steve,
sympathy
I was
for
going to say
either
Elon
side.
Musk last night. Did you see that on Sunday Night Live? He drove the number down of his Bitcoin thing because he was on SNL. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't really feel. First of all, I feel bad for the British fans. They have really, in my view, they're the backbone of this whole fight, and you're going to take it to some far-off desert? Give me a break. This is where boxing does need a reset, and I know some of your fans are going to cringe, and they're probably going to hate me for saying this, but when Dana White said boxing treats every big event like a going-out-of-sale business where they try to extract every single last bloody dime from it, without any thought to the future of marketing it. And again, I know Dana White runs a different type of business. In this particular case, I think he has a point.
Yeah, man.
Right.
That's, I don't like the guy, but when he's right, he's right. It's not a good look. Now, in regards to the Canelo fight, what did you think, Steve, of Billy Joe Saunders doing all this talking prior to the fight and prior to all his fights? He says he wouldn't go down even if he had 2 broken orbital bones. And wouldn't you know it, he gets a broken orbital bone. What did you think of him not being able to continue in that fight?
Okay, see, this is the issue. I don't have a problem with guys, quote, unquote, tapping out or quitting. I think Jimmy's listened to me for years. I've always been an advocate that boxing needs to have a more of a tap-out situation where retiring from a fight is not looked upon as this scarlet letter. It's not going to go out there and be a stigma for years to come. But Billy Joe Saunders has to understand as a fighter, when you talk about other fighters in such a negative term, as he did with Daniel Dubois, you are living in a glass house. You better have some empathy and realize that could be you in that situation. See, I think people are conflating this. I don't think anyone has an issue with him being pulled out of the fight. I don't disagree. But when you act the way he did, and for the record, I got a kick out of his behavior. I think he's kind of this very interesting character. He is a rogue. I like him, kind of. And he's got a charmish assholeness, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
But the way he threw Dubois under the bus, hey, when you point a finger, you know what they say, guys? 3 of them come right back at you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was low rent.
Well, it just always comes back to haunt you. It always does. You've seen it through the years with a boxer. They'll mock another fighter, and then before they know it, they're in the same situation themselves. I mean, Wilder was doing it with Joshua, and then he found out he was the end of the memes a few months later. And this is how it works. The karma is, it always comes back to Biden. Look, a quadruple fracture as well. I mean, he got worse than what Dubois did. It's not like he got worse. I mean, it's a real bad fracture. And look, this could be a career-ending fight because with Billy Joe, I don't think his stomach's been in boxing for a while now. I think he's been looking for that big payday against Golovkin or Canelo, and now he's got it. Does he really need? I know he likes to live in the country with his dogs and his horses or whatever, and but it's time for him to probably retire. I mean, nothing else to achieve. He's never going to get them belts back off Canelo because he'll never beat Canelo as long as he's got a fucking hole in his backside. So what's the point? I mean, when you've got a bad injury like that, you're just never the same. Look at Kell Brook the other day. I mean, it was like paper mache in there, wasn't it? I mean, just fell to pieces as soon as someone tapped him.
Stu, I'm assuming that Billy Joe probably made a career-high payday. I thought he performed rather well. I know there were some people, that probably thought the fight was very close. Others thought it was a blowout for Canelo. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. He may have won 2-3 rounds. I think the people that start giving him 4 and 5 rounds as they were going into the 9th round were being awfully generous. But I thought he performed well. But you're right. I don't see how. See, I've never thought he was a great super middleweight. If you actually look at his 168-pound title run, it came off of a vacant belt. I was at one of his fights at the Staples Center when he was actually the undercard to a couple of YouTubers. I think it was one of the Paul brothers against KSI. He was terrible that night. So he is a beneficiary of the 4-belt system, and at that point, having a very good relationship with the sanctioning body. So, I mean, look, he's not going to go down in the annals of British super middleweights like Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn for sure. And so in many ways, this was his lottery ticket. He had one chance to do it, and now he might be irrevocably damaged. Also, the other thing is just to go back to the reception of his actions, there's going to be a lot of derision. And I'm not questioning his courage. These guys are all very brave. This is what they do for a living. I'm sure he didn't want it to end that way. But again, when you behave the way you have, and you have stated the things you have in the past, it comes back to haunt you. And I think that's the case with Billy Joe.
Steve.
I think,
Yeah,
a
I was
guy in
gonna
the chat,
say,
Steve.
Yeah.
A guy in the
I
chat
was
said
gonna
about
say-
Eubank.
Yes.
So, hello?
I was going to mention something.
Oh, Eubank was very good.
go ahead.
Eubank would have fought on.
The
Eubank was a
injury,
crazy
the
type of
injury
guy.
was 100% true, and you know why? Because when Canelo landed the punch, he told Eddie Reynoso in the corner, he's not coming out. But when he landed the punch during those last seconds, and where he started pumping his fist and raising his hand, he knew that he heard something pop. So you can actually take away from that injury was 100% true. Because even before they called the fight, Canelo was already celebrating that he knew that he wasn't gonna walk out of that corner.
Well, yeah,
Right?
he actually, Steve, did you see? Yeah, like he didn't sit down. That's why he didn't sit down. When he went back, they went to pull a stool. They said, "Don't bother. He's not coming out."
That's
he knew.
right.
Well,
That's
Steve,
right.
you're a ball player, and so you know when you hit a ball perfectly. I don't care if you have a wooden bat or a shitty aluminum bat. You don't even feel it in your hands. You just know it's that sweet spot. So it's the same thing with a punch. He just knew it. It was a devastating.
That's right.
And then also, when you have a hematoma from a swelling, from a broken, bad bump, that instantly swells. When your eye pools blood instantly, that means you have, usually broken the bone.
No,
No,
I
that's
mean,
a bad injury. That's a bad
and Jimmy,
injury.
here's the other
That is a real
factor,
bad injury.
and this is where the trainers have to make a decision, and it's not one size fits all. Let's say Billy Joe Saunders was the white Pernell Whitaker last night, was absolutely riddling Canelo, and let's say he was actually up 6-2 or 7-1. If you suffer that injury then, you kind of say to yourself, hey, Billy, can you run around for a couple of rounds and fake it and stay out of a fight? Maybe we can hold on to a victory. But I think even his own corner knew that Canelo's probably ahead, which he was. It's not going to get any better. So any chance of actually winning that fight probably went right out the door. And that's the reality that they had to face at that point.
When he landed the punch, I thought it was kind of awkward that Canelo was pumping his fist. He looked like Bolo Young and fucking,
Gonzalo, you're cutting off.
But he
man.
landed that. Yeah.
You're cutting off, Gonzalo. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
Yeah. Look, the thing is, though, Billy Joe did what I wanted him to do, and that was go and try and win the fight. And that means you're going to have to fight Canelo. You just can't run from this kid and win the fight. And he come to win. And what more can you ask from anyone? At the end of the day, I'm one for if a guy goes in there and gives it his all. If he's not good enough, then it's just not good enough. But if he gives it his all, then that's fine by me. Respect to the guy. And look, that was a bad injury. And that's not just a little fracture, a hairline fracture. That's quadruple break. I mean, career-ending injury. So I could see why he didn't come back out. And he was never going to win that anyway. Because when you're in that sort of pain and you've got that sort of injury, and Canelo, he only started getting into the gears. Canelo don't start till 6 or 7. That's when he ups the gears, and that's when you're in trouble. So Canelo's only going to get stronger. Billy Joe's only going to get weaker, and it could have been a real bad beating in the end. So why continue?
And plus, you get double vision. When you fracture an auricle bone, instant double vision. Okay, go, Steve. Sorry, get the delay.
No. I mean, I just want to make this one point. The other thing is, Stu, is that Billy Joe, at his best, even at 160, was never a heavy-handed puncher. So there was even that threat to keep a guy at bay. And the way Canelo reacted, as you guys were saying, it was very clear. He was going to close in and smother him and just grind him up. So from a training perspective, if I'm Mark Tibbs, it's time to wave in the towel. I think that was a relatively easy call.
This is how important having world-class punching power is at the top of boxing, because it's going to be the difference of keeping a guy off you, getting his respect. Now, when a guy starts walking through your best shots and he's coming back with world-class shots himself, you're in for a horrible night and a long one as well. Well, a short one, should we say? I mean, look, you've got to have You've got to have enough snap in your punches to get these guys respect where they're thinking, fuck, I don't want to do that again. Get hit with that. And that's what you got to keep them thinking. But when a guy's eating your shots, like Cole Froch did with Butte. Now, Butte looked pretty and slick, but Froch was eating them to get his own off. And when Froch was landing, there was a lot more happening, wasn't there? And this is the thing with Canelo. Billy Joe just didn't have the game to beat Canelo Alvarez. That's why I picked an 8th round stoppage. All right, I said a body shot. I didn't predict a quadruple break, you know what I mean, on his face. But look, I think they got the round right.
No, absolutely. And with the thing is, with a fracture of that kind, every time you get hit there, you run the risk of your eye muscles getting caught up in the fracture. And it's literally what it does. If you've ever seen some eyes roll back in the top of their head, like you just see white, like the eyeballs looking up, like I said earlier, or the little shards of fracture start severing nerve endings, and you can have irreparable damage. So at that point, like Steve said, he's not going to put him out. So why send him in there for a feast?
It's like he can live to fight another day like this, but if he would have continued, like I mentioned to Mr. BDA, it would have been like Margarito. He would have ended up being like RoboCop.
Yeah, you mentioned RoboCop.
Well, look, if the cost is being a Cyclops for the rest of your life, I'd rather not do that. And here's the question, guys, I have for you: who would you like to see Canelo fight next? I think the obvious answer for a lot of people because he has the final belt is Caleb Plant. I'll be honest with you guys, and Joe Goosen kind of agreed with me and Mario. I don't see Caleb Plant holding off Canelo. I think stylistically, because he's an orthodox fighter, it might be an easier fight than Saunders for Canelo.
Look, I'll give Benavidez stick. I give Benavidez stick, but I'd rather see Benavidez in there than Caleb Plant. I think Caleb Plant is tailor-made for Canelo. Look, if you think Billy Joe had a few breaks, wait till he's finished with Caleb Plant. I mean, he needed a new face restructuring and construction. Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, the guy, he just gets hit too much. Canelo's too explosive for him. Certain styles are just not going to work with Canelo, and I think Caleb Plant's got that style. It's a terrible match for him, and I think that could be a real bad beat in that one.
And Steve, do you think that fight could even be made? Do you think Heyman would even make that? Like, send any of his champs outside his promotion? Steve? Hello?
I think we've lost Steve. I mean, try and get Steve back if we can. It's always good to have Steve on. I mean,
because I wanted to ask him if there was any chance that that fight could even be made.
This is the thing. I mean, we get these clowns that say, "Oh, no one's watching your show," but Steve Kim watches it, and people like that, and we have fighters and other people that watch our show. And look, we're here for real boxing fans, and I give a lot of them a bit of stick on here, but a lot of them are dedicated boxing fans that come on our show. They're here every show, no matter what the time, no matter what the weather. Without these fucking guys, there is no show. So I know I'll give them a bit of stick, but they keep the show going. And they are boxing hardcores, aren't they? Because they spend a lot more time on here than I do. Because I'm at the stage now where I'm so disheartened with the way boxing was going, certain things, where I lost my love for it. When you lose your love for it, it doesn't become as important anymore. Like when, say, as an example, say if your friend rings up, say, I'm having a party around with a couple of chicks around here, do you want to come round? So either that or watch Ariola Ruiz. Which one are you going to pick? And this is where I am. I end up going out doing things, and I'm missing fights. But I'm starting to get my hunger back for it again. I mean, certain moves are being made in boxing. That's getting my appetite back into the game, and hopefully Tyson Fury, Josh can be made. Canelo can move on take it from there, innit? But hopefully we've got Steve back now. Is Steve back? BDA,
yes,
is he back?
Yeah, he's back. Steve, you're back on the air, man.
Guys, how you doing?
Good, man, good.
Quick thing here, and you guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
I think the one... All right, so Jimmy, I think the question is, can that fight even be made? Because I was able to hear a little bit of that last part.
Yes.
Here, if you're Caleb Plant, now this is the history with Canelo. Now this is, I don't know if the business has changed, but keep this in mind. The Fox deal with PBC, I think, is ending. That's been the rumor I've heard since last summer, and there's more indication that that deal is not going to be extended past its original terms. Okay, so if you're Caleb Plant, and you're making around $1 million. And if you can extract, let's say, a $4 to $5 million payday, which in many respects is life-changing money for a guy like Caleb Plant, how do you not take that fight regardless if it's on The Zone, PBS, CBS, NBC, CNN, or ESPN? And the other thing is, this is a fact. When it comes to Canelo, Al Heyman has worked with Canelo in the past, with Amir Khan, who had an association with the PBC. He fought on a Golden Boy show. And then also the other guy, I think Danny Jacobs kind of had sort of a quasi-relationship with PBC. He was able to face him. And I think Chavez certainly had a relationship with PBC when he faced Canelo, and he was on a card that was promoted by Golden Boy. Now, keep this in mind, guys, and I've heard this from the very beginning. You got to give old Slick Eddie Hearn credit. He has really ingratiated himself very well with Canelo. As they say in Spanish, they are simpatico. I do not believe that Canelo moving forward will not have Eddie Hearn as part of his team. That's the feeling that I get. I mean, look at the way they staged that event yesterday. That was glorious, what they did. And I think Canelo was impressed by that.
Yeah, me too.
Very
Steve,
classy.
I think Steve, you've banged it on the head there, bro. Because I was actually thinking this last night. It's exactly what you just said, where you could see that there's a connection between these two, where they're going to do well together. Eddie Hearn is the perfect guy for Canelo, and you can see Canelo's very happy with Eddie Hearn right now. I mean, just the ring entrances and getting it in a stadium and getting these. Look, with Eddie Hearn, he's all business. He says he's going to get something done. He gets it done. Oscar's all talk. And look, I think Canelo will be with Eddie Hearn probably till he retires. I mean, there's no reason to leave Hearn. He's going to go and get... And I think Eddie Hearn's brought a lot of this charisma out of Canelo a little bit. He's brought him out of his shell a little bit, especially with his English talking. I mean, that when he was tearing Andrade apart the other night in English, it was just comedy gold. It's great to watch, and it makes you like Canelo a little bit more, sort of thing. And I think Eddie Hearn's had something to do with that as well. Very good promoter.
Yeah, Eddie Hearn said it himself. Look, Canelo's rich now, but he's not always been rich. Eddie Hearn, probably ever since he was a little kid, he grew up in money. But what I'm saying, Canelo rich now, so how can you please a guy that's got everything? And Eddie Hearn said this, you just got to watch for the finite details, like putting like accommodations in his hotel room, doing little things that the guy, Canelo can say, this guy really appreciates me. Even though I'm Canelo and I have everything, this guy, he watches those things.
Good point, Gonzalo.
Well,
yeah, just the ring entrances, isn't it? Just the little ring entrances and stuff like that. That's what Canelo wanted. That to be a superstar, you don't realise how important the ring entrances is. Look, Prince Nassim Hamid become more of a star for his entrances, really, than a lot of people for his fighting. Because I liked him as a fighter, but a lot of Americans didn't really rate him. But they liked his ring entrances, and that's what made him a big name.
Got him noticed.
You've got to make it. The Europeans have got they're a bit far more advanced than the Americans when it comes to like ring entrances and putting on shows with the boxing events. But the Americans, like I said, that last night was a great event, and I think Eddie Hearn's bringing that sort of over to the States, where you get the good entrances and you get a bit of fucking fireworks and lights, and it's all good for the show, isn't it? And I think that's the way forward in boxing. Coming in with some Bob fucking rapper with a few dudes with gold chains, it's just them days are over.
Played out. Yeah, played out. No, that was classy. Hit with the singing and the dances. You can tell Canelo appreciated it. He was having a hard time hiding a smile.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Hey, guys.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Did I just talk over Steve? Sorry about that, bro.
I'm sorry. I'm in a kind of a bad area, but you're absolutely right, guys. The client maintenance, the little things are the big things at that level. And I think that's where Oscar De La Hoya, in my view, lost his touch with Canelo. I mean, I still remember the second Golovkin fight. De La Hoya didn't show up to the final press conference, and that was a bit of a story because he was in town, and those little things mattered. I got to give Eddie Hearn credit, and I know he has his critics, but having interviewed Eddie Hearn, getting to know him a little bit in his operation, nobody works harder. The guy's amazing in a sense that there will be a club show in Liverpool, but he will do a press conference in New York, and then he'll take a jet and he'll be there the next afternoon to do that show in Liverpool and do interviews for 3 hours with anyone that has a camera. And then a couple days later, he'll be announcing something else and he's off to another city. The guy's a grinder, and the thing that guys, remember that old story about how Don King came in with Joe Frazier and he left with George Foreman because he comes with the champ and he leaves with the champ? That story was kind of reminiscent of when Demetrius Andre and his father were trying to raise a ruckus at that press conference yesterday. Guys, it's funny. Eddie Hearn also promotes Demetrius Andre. Notice how he didn't exactly speak up for his other guy? I thought that was kind of funny. But we know
he threw Billy Joe under the bus. He threw Billy Joe Saunders under the bus. But when it comes to Canelo, mate, look, he knows where his bread's buttered, mate. There's no one going to come between him and Canelo and Joshua. The rest, he don't care about. Honestly, he does. He does care about them. But look, it's about them two, really. And look, Andrade, I mean, the only thing he said to Andrade was, not here, fellas. I mean, that's the only thing he said to him. He did. Look. Yeah, I mean, I felt sorry for Andrade because the kid does deserve a good fight, a big fight, and a big payday because they all do for me. So I do want him to get a big fight. I don't think no one wants to see Canelo in there with him though. I just don't think no one's asking for it. No one wants it, and Andrade needs a good signature, impressive win for me, and he hasn't had that for a while.
And he's not even campaigning in that weight, is he?
No, he's at 160.
Hold on, guys. Yeah, Stu. It's funny. I heard you going off on Golovkin fans earlier, and I don't disagree with you, but it's not about this. When it comes to Golovkin, and I told this to his people, and I've gone back and forth with him, because he has the zone deal where his money's locked in, and it's an exorbitant deal, even to this day, even with the adjustment made in it. I don't want to hear from Golovkin or his people, well, what's in it for us with Andrade? Easy. It's a real fight on the zone. You get paid well for it. You're still probably getting overpaid for it. So that rings hollow when the Golovkin people say to me, well, see, why should we face him? Well, you're getting paid on the zone. There's no other options out there. Andre has a belt. I actually think he's very beatable for as awkward as he is. And to me, they double talk in the sense that you can't say, we want belts, we want big fights. Trust me. If Andre fought Golovkin, I think at least the very hardcore guys like us, we'd be into that fight. It's an interesting fight.
Listen, that's part
I don't want to hear about. Like Stu, I know you're going to fight Murata in December.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what now? What about the actual fight in the summer? I don't get it. I think that career's gone completely off the rails.
Yeah, I agree 100%, dude. I've said the same. Now, is he still with Loeffler?
Loeffler's involved, but he's no longer the man in charge, unfortunately. And I'm not, it is what it is. Tom kind of lost control of that situation, and people want to blame Tom. I think it's very unfair because he's not the captain of the ship anymore, unfortunately. And, my view is this. And I've said this for a while, if the third Canelo fight happens, it'll happen at 168. I said that about a year ago. Look, I actually think Golovkin is still the toughest fight for Canelo because he's very strong punch and he's got a jab that can offset a lot of the things that Canelo likes to do, and he understands distance. The way Billy Joe Saunders got hit with that uppercut because he was leaning on that front side and he came over his feet, Golovkin is very disciplined in staying back for the most part. Not saying he doesn't get hit. Everyone gets hit. But he understands how to face him, and I said this to you guys a couple of months ago. Golovkin, in the last 3 rounds of the rematch, figured out I have to layer my combinations. I just can't do the 1-2 or the 1-1-2. I have to make my combinations longer and be willing to stay in the pocket just a little bit longer to give some, to take some, to get some. Now, can he do it now at 39 going on 40? That I'm not sure about. But look, people can say what they want. I'm not saying Golovkin would be a favor over Canelo at this point. He wouldn't be. But I do think he has more tools and more of his arsenal. And it's a very personal battle. I think he's a better matchup than Caleb Plant or even Benavidez.
Yeah, oh, man, much better. Look, I'll give Golovkin stick. The only reason I'll give him stick is because I expect better from the guy. The guy was a great fighter and a very dangerous guy. And he still is. But I expect more from him. Like Steve Kim said, it's not just me. I mean, everyone's hating on me for saying it. Steve Kim, the journalist, has just said it. The guy, his career's gone. It's a mess. He don't want to fight anyone. He just wants to wait for Canelo. And look, I don't mind that, but then don't come and start calling Canelo a fraud when the guy's fighting 3 times a year and against world-class opponents, whether you like it or not. So that's where I am with the Golovkin. I still rate him, and I still think he's the toughest fight for Canelo out there because he has the attributes, like just Steve just said. He's strong. He's got punching power, and he's got a massive, granite chin. So that's going to help with Canelo. But he's just when you slow down a half a yard against someone like Canelo, who's explosive and is a world-class puncher, when you're second to the punch with a guy like that, it's going to be a long night for you. And you just saw it starting to slow down. That half a yard's gone. He's starting to telegraph his shots a little bit. And Canelo he's gonna read them all day long. It's going to be a bad beating for Golovkin. It really is. But he's still the guy I want to see him fight next.
Yeah, maybe he's taking some time off because he chased a lot of fighters for a lot of years, and he didn't have the money that he does now. So he's probably taking a needed break after fighting amateur and professional, after making all those defenses. Then now he's living in the United States and he's raising a family. And, he's 38 years old. He's taking 39. A needed break there where he 39 where he can rejuvenate a little bit, maybe.
He needs a needed retirement, bro. Let's be honest. Just get out. This is what you get. I jumped off the train, and I even tweeted out a guy jumping off a train and with rolls. That's when I saw what it was, and I don't blame him for being bitter because we all know he beat the person who's considered the most invincible person. But Steve, you were just about to say something, dude?
No, you just.
Well, no, I mean, Jimmy.
No,
Jimmy, it reminds me of that line
said,
from Rock. Guys, in Rocky 3, remember when Clubber Lang propositioned Rocky's wife, and Mickey said, "I'm out of here," and Rocky was talking to Mickey at his house, and Mickey's packing up, and he said, "That's it, kid, you're done." And he basically explained to Rocky, the worst thing happened to you that could have happened to any fighter. You got civilized. In many respects, what Gonzalo said is very true about Golovkin. I think he's gotten Americanized. I think he's gotten very comfortable, which is his right. He's earned this. It's been a hard career. But I do wonder if he actually wants to fight. Or is he just doing this because he's got shares of the zone? It's a big contract. But the thing, and I've said this on other shows, so this is not new, and I don't know if Gennady Golovkin has heard this. He probably hates me now like many other fighters, but if you're going to be so bitter about it, then just walk away, because I thought there was a certain honor in Marvin Hagler being so pissed off at the sport. He just didn't only walk away from the game of boxing. He went to Italy and just said, "I'm not coming back. I'm going to keep my dignity. I'm not going to bitch and moan about this. I'm not going to come back. I'm not going to make a fool out of myself." Well, my point is, if you're that bitter about it, and I think, like Jimmy said, he has a right to be bitter, especially on the first fight, then walk away. Keep your dignity. That's the way I feel. It's easy for me to say, though.
Do you think his wife likes America, Steve? Is it true that I heard that his wife likes jewelry? Somebody said that to me. He said his wife likes to live in America, and she likes the finer things. Do you think he's starting to see that, and he's trying to get as much as he can get?
Jimmy, remember that old saying, "Diamonds are a girl's best friend." I think everyone likes the nicer things in life. It's been a hard road. The thing that I'll never forget is that Abel Sanchez told me long ago that when he had worked out the deal, this is after meeting Golovkin and his people, catching him on the mitts, and they said, "Okay, we'll be back." And Abel Sanchez said, "Yeah, right." So he gets a call back months later saying, "Hey, Gennady's made the decision. We're going to train with you, Abel. Can you pick him up at the airport tomorrow?" They literally gave him a day's notice, according to Abel. So he goes to LAX, and I'll never forget that Abel said that Golovkin said, as he picks him up, he just had a tote bag. He had just one bag. And Abel goes, "Where's the rest of your stuff? Where's all your luggage?" And Golovkin basically told him, No, I'm here. I'm going to live here. This is my new home for a while. It's the commitment I'm making. Everything I need, from toothbrushes to anything else, to new clothes, to new towels, I'll just buy. So here's a guy that really wasn't Americanized, knew very little of the language, basically had a knapsack, and he said, okay, we'll pick up everything we need in the months and days ahead, and this is my life. But things change in life now. I've seen his home where he lives. It's very nice. He's earned that. But, the great Marvin Hagler once said, it is hard to do road work in silk pajamas. And look, we have to give Golovkin a bit of a break here, and I have to remind myself, Stu, Jimmy, he's almost 40 years old. That matters.
Yeah, it does. Look, of course it matters. I mean, this is the problem. I mean, just slowed down that half a yard, and that's when it becomes dangerous at the top of boxing, man. That's when you can get hurt.
I just feel he's hurting his legacy. That's all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's still good enough to beat most of the other guys. He is. He's still good enough to beat most of the other guys, but I just don't see it. I mean, I know a lot of his fans want to see him in there.
Jimmy, here's the thing, and Stu, tell me if you agree with me. The problem that I have with this career is if Gennady wants to be like Hagler and just stay at 160, which I don't have an issue with, I really don't. If he doesn't feel comfortable at 68, again, his body, not mine. Try to at least close it out with some meaningful middleweight fights. Murata, okay, I guess that's a big event in Japan. They're going to have a lot of people there. But if you beat Andre, that's still a significant victory. Try to unify at 160 again. I want the Charlo fight because I want to see what Charlo really has. There are fights. See, here's the thing that to me that I cannot reconcile. If you're saying that with Gennady, well, we can't get any fights, I counter with there's plenty of fights. What effort are you making? It's easy for us to say this, but it's not like he does not have options at 160. The question is how.
I've tried to say this, Steve. I've tried to say this to people. They don't want to listen. They say we all know Golovkin was ducked in his prime, but we're not talking about his prime now. There is people out there. Well, there's not many people calling that, but I know there's a few there would take that fight because they see Golovkin as probably the best time to fight him now. He's a shot fighter. So
but also let's remember, Stu. Let's remember, he's past his prime, but he's still got a belt. He's the IBF champion. Yeah. Now, with that being said, the IBF don't they demand that you fight on a regular basis, or you'll get penalized or taking your belt away?
Well, I believe they've pushed the mandatory the most of all belts. Steve would know more than I would.
Yeah. Gonzalo, I haven't really gone through the IBF the rule book with a fine-tooth comb, but I do know this. They are the one organization that is very, very stringent about every year you have to face your mandatory. So here's the problem, guys. Does he have another IBF mandatory coming up? He just had one in December, and, he's gone through a situation with the IBF where he had to face Vanes Martirosyan after losing the IBF belt a couple of years ago. In my view, here's the problem I have with the whole Golovkin thing. If you've already identified the Murata fight as the quote-unquote big event for this year, fine. But the problem with that is, so whoever you face in the summer, you're going to go Charmin soft to protect that fight. That's the problem I have with it. I'm not like these other fans. I don't live vicariously through fighters. Like a lot of these fans of Canelo, they act like they won. You didn't do a doggone thing, honestly. And it's not a part of my identity. I just want to see fights. That's what I'm here for. And I get it that fighters try to act like what I call fanagers, and I think it all started with Floyd Mayweather and Roy Jones and their cults. And it's been very damaging to the sport because there's no demand for this. Look, I was once Golovkin's biggest advocate, but I could be fair about it and be critical when it's time. And to me, Jimmy, I'm kind of like you. What has happened to this? It's sad.
Well, at the end of the day, look, one thing I can say about Triple G is if he wants to try to get a big fight against Canelo, I don't blame him. But at the same time, for the people out there that say, when you look back at Canelo's career and they say, well, Triple G's career, and they say Triple G never beat anybody, don't forget, when he stepped in against Canelo, the first fight especially, he beat him. Despite what the judges said with their ridiculous scorecards, Triple G showed that skill for skill, pound for pound, he went up there against Canelo and he got the best of him. So people can't deny that. We all saw it.
I think Chris Mannix was the only big journalist who scored fucking Canelo for that fight. Just want to put that out there.
No.
Right. Well, here's the interesting thing. Well, Jimmy, here's the interesting thing about the revisionist history of that whole thing. They're making it sound, well, that first fight was close. Not in the eyes of most people. No, it wasn't. If you go back to the reaction on that night and the text that I was getting, our timelines on social media, there was outrage over that decision. Maybe the Adelaide Bird scorecard maybe kind of put things a little bit out of kilter, but I think the ironic thing is, and I think people will begin to appreciate this as Canelo starts to steamroll everybody for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, people are going to look back in Golovkin and say, wait, that guy may have beaten him once, if not twice, or at least gone 1-0-1 against them at 37 years old. That in itself helps Golovkin's legacy is what Canelo's doing now to younger opponents that have belts, whether it's Callum Smith, who probably didn't win a round. Billy Joe Saunders ended up getting stopped. I think Caleb Plant will probably go through the same thing. Personally, as much as I like Benavidez, guys, I think he's too flat-footed for Canelo. I think he's right in the wheelhouse for him. That's my view. And so I think those fights, and it's not as good as a victory, okay, the victory matters, will age, those performances, I think, from Golovkin will age very well.
Absolutely. It's what Floyd Mayweather's been living off the interest of the Canelo fight for years now. Hey, by the way, speaking of all pal Mayweather, Steve, did you end up seeing the coverage of that whole Jake Paul or whatever his name is versus Floyd Mayweather and the hat incident?
Yeah, that's what I call the battle of the no cap. It was interesting. It's fun. I mean, I don't take it too seriously. I think boxing's at a place where they have allowed this type of tomfoolery to exist. It's interesting that it knocked Triller off that first week of June. My understanding is they are going to go June 19th. They're going to go back to Miami, and I think Triller is going to actually allow a crowd this time, which I believe is a good move. Look, this is what boxing is right now. It's a melding of sports and entertainment and personalities. Maybe they need to do it. I mean, look, I'll put it to you like this. I'm less offended by that than Top Rank putting Ramirez-Taylor in a small room and barely putting out tickets 3 weeks before the fight where no one can get them.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you.
The old guard of boxing.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead, ask away.
Well, I was going to ask you, why didn't they try to do that in Texas or Florida?
I have no idea. And this is one of my biggest gripes about that. I think all of us here and many of your listeners would probably agree. Ramirez-Taylor is probably the best pure fight on the current boxing calendar till Joshua Fury gets finalized, if and when. Would we agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that fight was
especially
announced
because
that,
you know what
so
I can say about that?
At least.
There's a lot of silence surrounding that fight, and you know how they say before the storm, there's like a silence. When the sea's at peace, then all of a sudden you get a storm. I think the perfect storm is brewing.
Well said.
Right, and so here we have.
All right, Steve dropped the connection dropped out, man. Again, Steve. I don't know if you can hear us through the stream, but well, he'll be calling back. Like, I'm surprised that he doesn't know why. Like, why wouldn't they try to hold that in somewhere where there's people? I mean, it's.
Yeah, no. It's just absolutely fucking ridiculous, isn't it, man? I mean, look, what Steve said about the old guard. I mean, this is where we are. I mean, it's time that some of the fresh ideas are brought forward. Like, that's why Eddie Hearn's quite fresh to see, and he's coming up with fresh ideas all the time. Bob and Frank Warren and all these other guys stuck in their old ways. And look,
Eddie Hearn embarrassed American promoters yesterday.
Sorry, we got Steve back. We got Steve. We got Steve back. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was just
guys, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. I'm cutting in and out here, but here's the problem I have with that event being handled the way it is. I am not saying that this is a Canelo level event. Canelo.
He dropped out again, man. Jeez. He must be in a. Well, he said he was in a bad area, so.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is Josh Taylor and Ramirez. That should be in the UK, and that'll fill a decent sized stadium in the UK, and it'll bring good money. I mean, look, that fight's a big fight to boxing hardcores, but is that a big fight in general? Probably not in America. There's not a lot of people know who Josh Taylor is, I should think, and probably Ramirez as well. You know, it's not a massive fight in America. Where I think it's a real big fight in the UK. Most UK.
You guys can do crowds now there? No shit. You guys are allowed to do crowds?
Well, 17th of June, the full lockdown is over. So we'll be able to go
Nice.
back into the bars and stuff and go back into stadiums. That's why the Champions League final, we're trying to get that in the UK because it's in Turkey and this obviously there's COVID rules over there, so we can't have any fans. So we might as well have it in the UK where we can have fans. But I'm not sure if they're going to do it. But, you know, for me, Josh Taylor Ramirez should be in the UK. I mean, it just makes sense.
It's one of the best fights of the year, and they don't need to do it in fucking Dallas Stadium. They could do it in the Alamo Dome. I think they could get a decent crowd there. I mean, Ramirez is a Mexican Mexican boxing fans and Texas boxing fans as a whole, they know who Taylor is. I'm surprised. Yeah. So anyway, maybe Aram doesn't want to go through the whole rigmarole of putting fights.
Yeah, I think Texas is pretty good with the taxes too. It's like a tax-friendly state to do business in. So
yeah, Texas is a good place, and with the Mexican fan base, that's probably the best place for it to be. But you can still got to get behind the event, and you know, Bob Arams, he just doesn't do that anymore. He's too old, and he ain't got the energy. You know, he's not building these events up. And in America, if you don't advertise events, they just they go missing with everything else that's going on, sort of thing. They get lost.
He's got to get better people in place because he's got his son-in-law Todd, and then they got like Kevin Korn. He's the publicist. I don't know. Like, does Bob like try to run the whole show? I don't know, but it is surprising they're not putting it in a place that because it's so much better. Everybody here knows it is. I hate being able to hear the fighters breathe. It's like I'm sitting watching a sparring session. To be honest with you.
Yeah. That was good. Go ahead,
the Tartan Tornado's not a bad fighter either, man. The second coming of Ken Buchanan, rocking the checkered shorts, the traditional attire of the Scottish people. Man, he's a good fighter. He stood up to Rougarou.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he stops Ramirez.
Yeah.
That's
what I mean. I'd have liked to see that in the UK myself. I'd have liked to see that. I think Josh Taylor deserves his big fight in a big stadium. I think he's probably one of the most naturally talented fighters we've got, really, Josh Taylor. Very, very good talent. Ramirez is going to be a hell of a fight as well. I mean, I just hope that gets more. I don't want to see it in some little bingo hall, with fucking hardly anyone there, with no promotion behind it. I don't want to see that. That fight deserves to be a big fight.
I'm looking forward to it. It's not even. It's in 2 weeks. It's the
2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Yeah. Wow, that's gonna be a good one, man. Hey, fuck. Listen, I could care less about the unification, blah blah blah. But the fact that it's the best fighting the best. Look, Ramirez has done his stuff too, and Taylor obviously has cemented himself as the best fighter at 140. So, man, I want to see that fight like nothing else, man. You're not gonna see any.
And also BDA. They both have hearts. It could be like Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti, where they're gonna bring the passion, but they're also elite level. So wow, that's just incredible. And they're similar in length, but they like to fight on the inside. Respectable punching power. We could go on and on and on about what they bring to the table.
That's right. By the way, we got Steve back,
guys,
I believe.
I'm back.
Yes. All right, Steve.
Yeah,
we
as I was saying, guys, look, Taylor Ramirez is an excellent fight. I'm not saying there could have been 70,000, but I know this much. Eddie Hearn wouldn't have put it there in some small hotel theater. I think it's the lazy way out, and I'm a little bit disappointed for the fans because I know a lot of them wanted to go. So that's kind of one of those things you're like, does this business even give a damn? And this is where, again, I give Eddie Hearn credit. I look at their events with the staging and the platform and the fireworks and the bands. I'm like, that's an event. That is sports and entertainment. You are moving this into the 21st century. And I just look at this and I'm like, guys, and look, in ESPN, have they even really mentioned this fight? I think they're running a preview show, 2 of them, 30 minutes each, to this later today and Sunday. So they're going to basically devote an hour of their programming. But I'm just like, okay, that's their commitment to their boxing franchise? I don't get it, guys. But it is what it is, as I like to say.
It's a sleeper. It's a sleeper.
It's just, it's a shame. They should have put that. Even Ramirez is home. Well, actually, I don't know if they're allowing crowds. Which is, Steve. I said while you were off the phone, I can't stand them fighting without a crowd, hearing the fighters breathe. It's like watching sparring. I mean, it just adds so much. Like Canelo waving to the crowd. He was actually moved too. You could actually tell when he said, "What do you think about the 73,000 people?" Like he appreciated it. You know what I mean?
Of course, this is the entertainment business, and if we ever lose that, I think we're going to lose a huge facet of this business. Part of the way you create new fans is actually creating live experiences where people say, wow, that was fun. I want to do it again. I want to watch more of this. And you have to give a lot of these companies that trudged through last summer, and I covered most of those shows, and I was actually in the bubble once in Vegas, and I've been to other shows where I've worked it and I've had to be in the bubble. I give these companies credit for moving on with their business because they had to make an economic sacrifice. It's not easy from a logistical standpoint. However, now that these restrictions are being taken off, you have to move forward. The companies that are moving forward with big events, PBC, they've done several big shows with live audiences. They've done well. Top Rank has taken their biggest, best fight and put it into a bandbox. It doesn't make sense. I get it that you're getting a hotel site fee, but they've angered a lot of fans. Last I checked, fans kind of matter. They matter.
Yeah, absolutely right.
You think a lot has to do with Bob Arum just being a little bit older? He's in his late 80s, Steve?
No,
and the company
I don't.
transitioning
I
to
think
something
Bob
else?
has an incredible passion for the sport. Look, Bob still likes the art of the deal. I asked him this 4 or 5 years ago when he celebrated his 50th anniversary in the business. He said, Steve, I'm never retiring. There's an old saying, guys, retirement has killed more people than work. He is one of those individuals that the purpose that he has in running his business, it's what keeps him alive. It's what keeps him excited. It's what keeps his heart pumping. It's like Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn has a lot of money. Eddie Hearn doesn't have to work a day in his life, but this is what they do. Look at all the billionaires around today, or the millionaires. They don't have to really theoretically work, but they have a passion for what they do. It is what they are. I actually wonder if Bob Arum's influence in his own business is waning, where he is nearly 90 years old, and he's not in charge. I mean, there used to look at what Bob Arum has done. He's done Yankee Stadium. He was the first guy to go into AT&T Stadium. It's not like that he's never done a big event in like really, really unusual, interesting, vibrant venues. To go to the Virgin, look, I'm going to be there. I'm going to enjoy the
Tom
fight.
LaBeouf?
But will it be the same as having 20,000 people or at least 10,000 people? Look, if you had that fight, and again, I'm talking with no COVID restrictions, no social distancing, and all these other rules. But in normal times, if you had that fight in Scotland or anywhere in the UK, I think you can get 30, 40, 50,000 people if you price the tickets correctly.
Yeah, man, if they would have done it in Scotland, man, the atmosphere would have been great. And I'm pretty sure Lamides would have been willing to go there to make it happen. But, hey, listen, at the end of the day, Florida, I mean, how good was it to see 70,000 people in one place? It seemed like old times again. And that the rest of the country and the world must be looking at that and going, wait a minute, where's all the stacked corpses from all the non-social distancing going? Like, well, where are the repercussions? Hey, they're living it up, man. And meanwhile, the rest of the country's,
It was a spectacle last night. It wasn't, like Steve said, it wasn't just a sporting event. I mean, that was like, you know what I mean? The dancing, the singing. It was just a great show. Eddie did. And like Stu said, to Stu's point earlier, he said that Canelo, he's probably, doing all the small things, giving him the best suites, making limos there. All those little details do make a huge difference. I know maybe Gonzalo said, I'm sorry, I know one of you guys did, but you can tell Eddie's that type of dude who's going to make sure all those little things are done, and that makes people feel appreciated.
Hey, Steve, let me ask you, were you disappointed, though, that they didn't have any sudden explosions out of nowhere like they did at the Canelo Cotto fight?
There's a funny story about that. I was actually in the venue, and I don't know if you guys recall, but I think that there was a terrorist bombing in France earlier that week, or really close to it. And that's when Rock Nation thought they were going to change the business and kind of do what Triller's doing, but just not nearly as well. When that explosion went off, I mean, everyone's heart stopped. I could still recall the shrieks and the screams in the audience from that. And at that point, I just said to myself, these Rock Nation people truly are clueless. And it was kind of scary. I remember Mario told me he was at the VIP lounge, and that I guess he was downstairs in some area where there's kind of a free bar for everybody. He said, like, people like were literally screaming, and one person nearly fell on her high heels, and Mario had to like catch her and gather her. I mean, it was a scary scene, and I do remember the Golden Boy staff calling to whoever was in charge of that, hey, guys, can we cut off the explosions? It's really not the right time and place for this. So, yeah.
It was 3 days later, I believe, Steve. I think it was 3 days after this terrorist attack. It was just literally days after.
Right. So, again, obviously these guys never pick up a newspaper, not that anyone reads those anymore, but I thought that was very ill-advised, that whole situation. That was way back in 2015, and that's Rock Nation was kind of in charge of that show alongside Golden Boy. I have to tell you, the Rock Nation, that whole run, you know, it's interesting. Rock Nation, now that I think about it, you guys got me kind of thinking, they're kind of doing what Triller did, except they didn't really understand how to do it correctly. You know, because they tried to bring in the whole sports and entertainment aspect of it. The only problem is, I said, maybe they overthought it, but overpaying guys like Miguel Cotto at the end of their careers and Andre Ward, who was never really a fan favorite, probably wasn't the best business plan. They couldn't even get Jay-Z to even tweet about any of the fights, which I know was a big, big issue as it related to Cotto Canelo. Never mind, he's the face of Rock Nation Sports. The guy couldn't even tweet one time about a pay-per-view event. So that thing was a big disaster. But the business is interesting, guys. I think you guys will have a lot to talk about June 19th. Did you know, guys, I speak about the division of the business. Did you know on that day, guys, there's going to be a DAZN, Triller, Showtime, and ESPN card all in one day?
No, I did not know that. Hold on, let me double check here. Because I'm started getting lost on all the dates. Yeah, hold on. June 19th, Jaime Munguia versus Ulensky. Chavez Jr. versus Anderson Silva. Oh, jeez, Luis. Charlo versus Montiel.
That's pay-per-view. Okay.
Yeah. Inoue versus Dismarinas. And, yeah, those are four. Jeez, Luis. So ESPN.
Triller's going to move to June 19th.
Oh, and then Triller moves to June 19th. Yeah, my goodness gracious.
I'm really looking forward to that Charlo Montel fight myself. I'm going to have people over.
I sense a little sarcasm there. Chavez versus Silva. I mean, is Chavez Jr. going to come into high heels into the ring? I'd pay to see that. Why not, man? And Chavez Sr. versus Camacho Jr. Wow, why not, man? Yeah. I mean, what is this, man?
Yeah, the circus is in town, guys. The circus is in town. You have a lot to talk about on that particular day. You know, there's a lot happening in boxing, and then there's nothing. You know, it is what it is. And so I don't know what to really say other than that I can't wait for the next Canelo fight.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I got a question, Steve. In regards to you work with Mario, you know Mario, and Mario, he's friends with and a business partner with De La Hoya. And we got Ryan Garcia. And Ryan Garcia used to be talking a lot. He promising, you know, to fight Pacquiao and do many things. But in the end, he got the fight with Fortuna, then he pulled out. What's going on with Ryan Garcia? And is this something that's going to keep happening throughout his career? I mean, only he knows that, but what I'm saying, what are your comments on him?
Well, right now he's working out his issues in Hawaii, and I wish him well. I don't know what to really say. I know that him and his mother took issue with what we said a couple weeks ago. And for the record, they didn't even listen to the show, as obvious based on what they said. Do I think that there will be issues constantly with Ryan Garcia? When he signed that deal about a year and a half ago, which they all heralded as the greatest contract in boxing history for a young fighter or a prospect, I told some people that within a year they will be unhappy with that contract and there would be further issues. And I've been proven correct, and people at Golden Boy kind of laugh about it, saying, Steve, you were right. Yeah, I do. I don't look, you agreed to the contract. You said it was a great contract. Can you at least live up to it for half the term? Because I believe it's a 5-year contract. See, you know, it's interesting, Gonzalo. A lot of people say, well, Ryan Garcia's trying to leave Golden Boy. I don't think he can. I think it's an airtight contract. They renegotiated at his behest right before the Kovalev-Canelo press conference. Because I remember that's when the tweets went out. That's when the release went out. I remember Ryan Garcia going to that press conference talking about how his relationship with Oscar is only stronger. It's better. Now we're going to live happily ever after. And now in two, 3 fights in, there's already issues. So I don't know where that goes. I certainly want to be sensitive to anyone's problems. You know, the people that say that he has to get away, it's not a big deal that he's in Hawaii. Some people have to get away. And you know, I just want to say one thing, okay, but that also means maybe shutting off social media once in a while, which he has not done. But I don't know what's going to happen there. I think it's very, very unpredictable. Garcia fought, January 2nd or the 3rd against Luke Campbell. I really don't know if he's going to fight again this year. And I don't have any inside information on that. I don't know what's going to happen to that July 9th date. I would hope Virgil Ortiz, who's been much more reliable, is able to procure that date. I felt for a while that while Ryan Garcia has a certain star quality and a certain popularity that he has created, to his credit, to me, availability is sometimes the best ability, is being reliable and being the type of guy that will just do the job as expected without any hassle. That's why I call him low maintenance. And he gives a good show, and I think he's a bright young fighter. I think there's so much stuff going on in Ryan's life that I don't know if boxing is the focus like it should be. I could be wrong. That's just the sense that I get. But, you know, good luck to him. But look at the history, Gonzalo. It's always been a bumpy ride. You can go through old tweets and battles with Oscar De La Hoya on Twitter, his first baby mama. They went back and forth. That's the pattern. That's what I have to go by. I don't have any inside information, but I do have a lot of things that went public that I could point to. So, yeah, I think it's one of those issues that'll always be very, very tumultuous, that particular relationship.
Well, that's the scary thing that, you know, if Ryan Garcia, if he's like bipolar, all of a sudden he's feeling sad, but then he comes right around and tries to do something amazing or say something outlandish to bring it back. I don't know. But then, go ahead, Mr. Beatty.
Well, Steve, you said it on your show, because look, when I first heard about it, without any other details or whatever, that he was going to pull out of the fight because of mental issues, at first I was sympathetic. I was like, oh boy, I guess he's in a bad spot. But then I heard your show, the 3 knockdown run, you were saying like that you didn't used to have mental issues back in the 80s, and before that, I mean, either you were crazy or you were sane and you had to tough it out. And it seems like with Ryan Garcia, look, I'm sympathetic as well, but he pulls out of the fight, but then he's vacationing in Hawaii. So why couldn't he wait a little bit to see if the bad mood passed? And then he says, you know what, I'm actually ready for the fight. Let me just stay in the gym and get back to the gym, rather, and we can still get it done in 2-3 months. Why does he need to completely pull out? It just smells like there's something else going on, right?
Right. Well, BDA, I'm just going to make this point without making any judgments here. But he could have taken a 2-week vacation from the time that he started and come back and started camp and still had 8 weeks to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, again, mental health is one of these hot-button issues, and it's certainly something very real. There's another young fighter by the name of Ammo Williams who seemed to go through like this almost psychological breakdown on social media a couple weeks ago. Personally, I'm much more fearful for him, and I've talked to some people who tell me, Steve, he's really going through some issues right now because he doesn't know if he wants to box anymore. That he doesn't know if he wants to get hit for a living. This is a tough job, and I have no ill will if Ammo Williams said, you know what, I tried it, it's not for me, and he walks away. I'd be happy for him. I really would be if he could find the next chapter of his life and have a productive life, raise a family, be a good citizen. But since that point where I think his management said we're getting him help, I don't think you've heard from Ammo Williams. And I think that young man is really going through it. So, I mean, look, there's different ways to deal with certain things, but some of the things that have been said about what me and Mario have stated were simply inaccurate. I'll just leave it at that.
Can I just put my 2 cents in? This is completely off my own gut feeling from
Please
just
do.
pretty good judge of character, Steve. I think he's a spoiled little prick. I think his parents never told him no. I think he fucking had a huge Instagram following for creepy reasons. All right, and I think he's just that's a kind of almost a kid of his generation, right? It almost fits the mold. But anyways, that's my thing on him.
Well, you called him a creep too, didn't you? You also said, right, that he knows exactly what he's doing there, like with his pajama pants and no underwear under that, and he's
Oh
like,
yeah, back on the Instagram day, he knew his crowd. I mean, you just if you hit his followers, somebody sent me said, "Look at his follower list," and I did. This is 3-4 years ago. It was crazy, dude. I'm not trying to. It is what it is. I'm not even being mean or trying to say it's derogatory. But at least half his followers were homosexual men in their 30s, 40s.
You know, it's interesting. When I went on his Facebook or Twitter and I read his comments, there's more mention of cock rings than of actual boxing rings. I think he's the most of his fan base on there. They're not actually boxing fans. They're actually, like you said, they're people that want to meet up with the old Ryan on Grinder. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. But all I'm saying is, since he's feeding off of that crowd, maybe he knows. Hey, listen, boxing. I got 1 foot out the door. I don't need boxing to make money. Steve, do you think that might also be a problem? Like Jimmy says, like, he's had it all too easy a little bit, and maybe that's why he feels like he can do whatever he wants.
You know, that's an interesting point. I remember this with Carlos Palomino, because I researched it. You came a little bit before my time, but Jimmy, I'm sure you remember that Carlos Palomino was a very good welterweight, and he had a really productive career. Good-looking guy, very marketable, and I think he retired early thinking, hey, I'm going to be in movies because I had been in TV shows and commercials. I'm just going to do this. But what everyone has found out, a lot of boxers, and a lot of athletes, in fact, that the reason why you get these opportunities and you get these roles and you get these commercials, for the most part, is when you're an active athlete. That once you become a retired boxer, they just move on to the next guy. So you got to have one with the other. It's very rare that a guy like Michael Jordan exists whose apparel, the Jordan brand, is more popular after he retires. That's an anomaly. But in my view, from what I have observed, for boxers to be marketable outside the sport of boxing and get commercials and endorsements and movie roles and television listings, you have to still box. That's the sacrifice you still have to make. That's my view. So is Ryan Garcia popular enough to all of a sudden star on his own television show and become a Nickelodeon star? I don't know about that. That's something he's got. Look, he's got a lot of endorsements. I remember one time asking him, you ever thought about tweeting or posting less just to ease the burden? And he said, Steve, if you got paid what I did to post and to Instagram certain things, you would never stop. And you know what? That's a fair point. If you're literally getting thousands of dollars to tweet something or to Instagram, it's a good living. But I made this point last week with Mario a couple weeks ago, you put your whole life out there in a fishbowl existence, there is a downside to it. So, and I just wonder if that has engulfed him. And it's very addictive, the attention. I don't know how he handles it moving forward. And that's the question that I brought up 2 weeks ago. If someone said, hey, Ryan, your life would be 50% less stressful if you stayed off of social media a lot more, would he do it? That's the question that I have. So it is what it is, and, they don't have to like what we say. We're going to give our opinions, that's part of our job. We're not going to always be the most popular people. We're not their publicists. We give opinions. We try to give responsible opinions as possible, but Gonzalo, going back to what you said, look at the track record. Oftentimes, the track record will portend the future.
That's absolutely true, man. Like you said a couple of episodes ago, that he was asking for that whole thing where some sort of escrow, or hey, even if the fight doesn't happen, I still get that money. It's like, wait a minute, what? How does that make sense? It seems like he's on some weird stuff, man, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, and another thing I mentioned is, and it's like, like I said to BDA one time, why are you worried about what another man like Ryan Garcia, he getting tattoos? Dude, I consider him to be like the poster boy. Like when I was coming up as a teenager and I used to admire De La Hoya. That's a clean cut dude that I look up to, no fucking tattoos. And if I have a child, and I like Ryan Garcia because I want to teach my child to be like him, because he got the Gatorade sponsorship. You know that he's capitalizing off his good looks, right? Now all of a sudden, I just think that it's kind of a little crazy that you decide to like put a tattoo here, another around your neck, all cluttered together. Next thing you know, he'll be looking like Chris Arreola, and this is not what the image that he wants to portray. I think, but it's just a little bit like within couple weeks to like put 3, 4, 5 tattoos on your body. That just doesn't sound too sane to me.
Gonzalo, you bring up a good point about the tattoos. You're not the only one who's actually brought that point up, that there, as you kind of like see the metamorphosis as the months go on, that there is a lot more ink on his body. Now, look, I'm not trying to be Sigmund Freud here. I'm not a psychologist. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn, but you're not the only person that has brought that up. I don't know what that really means. Maybe that's just his thing. But it's going to be interesting. I think the business moves on, though. But the shame of it all is, I think Ryan Garcia is good for the business of boxing because whether you hate him, love him, loathe him, anything in between, you care about him. When he fights, there's an audience. He brings a new demographic. I think boxing is always in a new battle to create the next generation of fans. And he brings about a demographic. And, Jimmy, I'm talking about younger females. I'm not talking about what you were alluding to. That is fun. You've got to create the next generation of people that are going to support the sport of boxing. I mean, I was there, guys, on Valentine's night in Anaheim at the Honda Center when he blew out. I forgot who he blew out, but Jorge Linares was also on that card. But it was one of the last few cards before the pandemic shut everything down in 2020. To draw over, I believe, 10 to 12,000 people on a Friday night in Anaheim. And to put this into perspective, if you live in L.A., to go to an event in Anaheim on a weekday, you literally have to take the day off because the traffic just kills you. You'd have to take a personal day or just lie about you're being sick. For him to draw that many people, and many of them younger fans, and it was noticeable to me, it did not look like the regular crowd. I said to myself, this kid is big. He's arrived. And unfortunately, the pandemic hit. We never got the Linares fight. So we'll see. We shall see what happens to Ryan Garcia. I think it'll be a fascinating thing. I don't know how it really turns out. I actually wish him well. I know they probably don't like us right now, but look, we'll live with it. Ryan Garcia not liking me is something I'll handle.
Well, I'm glad at least you can do it. I can't. But look, when he fought Ryan Campbell, man, let me tell you, at least here on YouTube, the community was a buzz. We started getting different people in the chat that we'd never seen before. So he's definitely, like you said, he's pulling from a different demographic there. So yeah, anytime you get more people, sometimes it's bad too because you get a bunch of people that they just don't know what they're talking about. But for the most part, hey, big fights make for big entertainment. So hopefully Ryan Garcia can sort everything out and come out and show people that he's got the heart of a fighter. But you never know with these fellas. And you know.
Yeah. Hey guys, I got to get to lunch. It was great joining you. Next time I'm just going to call you from my room so we don't cut out. But I just wanted to check in with you guys. Love what you guys do and keep doing what you guys are. And have a great weekend, fellas. I'll keep listening.
Steve Kim, you can come back and talk about the Tank Davis versus Barrios fight sometime soon.
Yes, Gonzalo, you read my mind. I was just about to ask him. So, yeah, when we do that, can you call back? Because you always have good point of views on that. Like, I like to talk to you about how none of the big PBC names have any dates set in what's going on, if you heard anything. But, yeah, so if you could call in, Steve, anytime, brother. It's always a honor to have you call in, bro.
Absolutely.
Your wealth of information.
Oh, absolutely. I won't be a stranger. I thought I was overdue for a call. Always enjoy chopping it up with you fellas, and I'll keep listening, guys. You have a great weekend and Mother's Day to everybody, okay?
You too, Steve. Thank you for calling in, man. Always appreciate your calls, man.
Thanks.
Have a good weekend. Have a good weekend. All right, that was Steve Kim right there. Don't forget to check out the 3 knockdown rule. You can catch it on, he advertises it on Twitter. He's got a link there always. I don't know if he's still on iTunes but I clicked the link.
Yeah, he's in all of them. You can get it in all of them. It's the best podcast. I mean, it's between, Lopez just isn't a celebrity. Like, you know what I mean? He has that celebrity pull, obviously, so he can, you know what I mean? That helps. Mm-hmm. Steve's an encyclopedia. I think he knows boxing better than anybody, or as good as anybody who covering the sport today. And it's entertaining. If anyone listening to it, you're nuts. It's a great, great podcast. I never miss it.
Absolutely. Always
Mario
appreciate.
Lopez is Mexican Filipino. I didn't know that till just recently, like my son.
Yep.
Huh.
and he knows the game. He's a passionate boxing fan. Truly is. You know what I mean?
Hey, by the way, fellas, let's get to a call here because people have been waiting patiently. I think it's Kevin. Kevin, is that you?
I mean, you think?
Sorry to make sorry, man. But thank you for staying on the line, man. What's on your mind, man? I didn't forget you.
What are you doing? Can't hear you.
You can't hear me at all?
Can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me. What are you talking about?
I just caught you. I got you.
All right.
What's up?
You tell me, man. What's on your mind?
Talk about the big fight. What you mean it's on my mind? Talk about the fight.
Well, go ahead, man. Jesus.
He whooped his ass. He whooped his ass and broke his ass. He broke that mother bitch ass. No, I picked Saunders. It was more picking with my heart. I was picking with my heart and picking with my brain. I thought maybe he could pull it off. He was doing decent too. He was decent. He was hanging in there. Then all of a sudden, one punch. So it takes one punch. But as far as Billy Joe as an opponent, you got to remember who's that guy he fought where he squeaked out a win. He stoppage in the 12th round. He looked like trash that fight. Remember his opponent, Santiago or something?
Caceres, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So
it was in the 10th
they're
round
trying to hype
uppercut
up
because he
Billy
does
Joe
have a
Saunders.
good uppercut though.
Billy Joe's not that. He's nothing special. He's a decent fighter, but he's not world class elite. He somehow has a belt. They kind of just gave him a belt. I don't know how he earned it or who he beat to got it, but they just kind of gave him a belt.
He fought for a vacant belt.
And then, yeah, he fought for a vacant belt. Who did he beat to get that belt?
Well,
I don't
know.
even remember, man. You're asking the wrong guy, man. But anyway, so yeah, you're saying Billy Joe's trash is what you're saying, but you were still optimistic that he was gonna pull something off against Canelo.
I thought he was gonna pull a gypsy trick. I thought he was gonna pull a gypsy trick out of his ass.
But but Kevin, come on, dude, isn't that a little kind of all over the place? You thought he was gonna beat him, but now he's trash. It's a little unfair.
It was not. It was. I told you, it was wishful thinking. Picking with my heart. That's what it was.
It was wishful something.
If I'd gone back and broke it down, I'd. That's what it was. It was wishful thinking. If I'd gone back and break it down to a T, I should have known that he looked like garbage against in his last fight, and he's been on a long layoff. I mean, the writing was on the wall, but I picked him because it was wishful thinking, like I said.
Well, listen, Kevin, you broke it down perfectly right there, man. But I mean, look, listen, were you surprised that because the coincidence that he kept criticizing people for saying that I'm not gonna quit, and then he said I could have 2 broken eye sockets and I wouldn't quit, and then he has 1, and whoops, fight's over. Did you think it was a bit of a karma, as they call it, back in the East?
Well, if you remember, I said in that Daniel Dubois fight, I said, I don't blame him. I said, I don't blame him for getting out of that, retiring. Everyone was criticizing Dubois, saying, oh, this and that, and he's a quitter. I said, no, man, you got a broken orbital bone or you get a badly damaged eye like that. You got a young career. Live to fight another day. I said that. But everyone else was coming down on him, saying, oh, he's a quitter, this and that. Specifically, Stu. But now when it comes to Saunders, he's saying, oh, this one's worse. This was a worse injury. Bullshit.
Did Stu call him a quitter? I don't remember.
This injury last night was a severe break. He broke it in 3 places.
Trashing Dubois.
It was like a
he
shadow.
was trashing Dubois, calling him a quitter.
All right. Well, listen, I
But
mean,
the thing especially with Saunders, the way he fights, his style, you can't not have your equilibrium if you're trying to be slick. If you're trying to move your feet, if you're just going to go in there and bang, you know what I mean? Curl up and just exchange punches, you can kind of bite down on your mouthpiece and stand in one spot. But you need your equilibrium. And if you don't have that and you're seeing, I'd rather not see out of, I'd rather be able to see out of just one eye than have one good eye and one terrible fucking blurred double vision screwing up my equilibrium. That's a horrible thing. Never mind the fucking feeling. You can feel the bones crackling around in your fucking face. Ugh.
Well,
no,
listen,
he did the right thing.
Every
man.
fighter, dude. Every boxer, regardless of style, you can't be in there with the freaking broken orbital bone. Period. Doesn't matter how you fight, what style, this and that. For Dubois,
And a bunch of fighters have, though, throughout the history, though.
People are calling
it has been a lot of guys do it.
All right. Well, listen, Kevin, I got to ask you, wasn't there some UFC last night as well?
Yeah, I watched a couple fights.
And how was that? Was it good? Was it
I
bad?
watched a couple of them.
Compared to
The main event was garbage, but other than that, there were some good fights. See, the thing about the UFC is you can go up and down. There's good fights throughout the card. When it comes to boxing, the main thing, you look for the main event, and that's it.
Yeah, that's the thing, though,
So
man.
that's what it was with UFC. There were some decent fights on the undercard. Main event was a dud, but that was expected. Women's fight.
No, well, yeah, man, come on. I think you should have stuck to the boxing for last night. Hey, well, listen, Kevin, we got to move on. But thank you for your call, and call back next time, right?
Hey, I got one more point.
Please do.
Listen,
Please go ahead.
Canelo is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. I think people already recognize that. Majority of people have him as pound-for-pound number one. It's time for him to fight a pound-for-pound talent. Okay, because you look at someone like Tyson Fury, who's he getting lined up to fight? Anthony Joshua. Those are two pound-for-pound fighters fighting each other. That's how it should be. I think Terrence Crawford might be onto something. Because Canelo, he's picking and choosing. He's picking off these fighters.
All right, Kevin, who should he fight then?
He's not stepping up.
Specific.
Charlo. That's a tough fight for him. He's been looking real good.
Good
coming off a good win over
a middleweight.
That's just one name.
All right. Well, listen.
One name. I think.
Oh yeah, you have to go move on. Okay.
Yeah. Well, listen, Jimmy. I think the Charlo fight would be good.
Bivol.
But I wouldn't call him
Bivol.
pound for pounder.
That's another good name.
Yeah, Bivol's a good
one. But
Serbia,
these are both
Bivol.
guys not even in division he's campaigning in, though. You know what I mean? Like, so that means that Charlo would have to come up to 168, and his first fight at 168 would be Canelo. I mean, I don't see that happening. But Bivol, I mean, yeah, that would be a decent fight. Bivol would have to come down.
He said he wants it. Charlo said
I
wants
know.
Okay.
Well, let's see if they can
thing
actually
with
pull it
Bivol,
off.
right? Who's he with? Is he under the zone?
Bivol is with the zone. Yes. Well, he fights on the zone. I don't know.
The thing is with I and again, I'm just being pragmatic. I'm thinking of like how Hearn would think. Bivol's a hard sell. He has no fan base, and I'm a big Bivol fan. His footwork is second to none. But that dude is just he's put the fucking being boring lately. He hasn't done nothing to generate a fan base. It's not gonna be outside of the hardcore people. Put it this way: you could hold that in the same place last night. You could have that in fucking. That would probably half that would have shown up just because everybody like, who the fuck's Bivol?
Yeah, man. I mean, he's not doing all that well, man. He needs to spice things up. He needs to show some mustard, man, because his whole going that distance and doing just enough to win ain't gonna cut it. Anyway, listen, Kevin, thank you for your call, man. We gotta move on.
Hey, but you know what else?
What's
you
that?
know what else is a good point? You guys kind of brought it up. Triple G. They said the guy that Stu likes to rag on every time he gets a chance. Look at his past two fights with Canelo, and you look at what Canelo did to Smith. Look at what he did to Saunders. Just absolutely walked through him, broke his face, destroyed Smith, shut out. And those are the two of the best that England has to offer. Those are the two best England has to offer. But you look at Triple G, Canelo got gift decisions against him. Whether one be the first fight a robbery, the second fight should have been a draw at the bare minimum. So there's Stu for you.
There
There's
you
your
go.
top guys.
Who do you have winning without? I'm just curious. Taylor and Ramirez. You think the Englishman's going to take it?
I got Postal winning. Postal beat Ramirez. Don't forget it.
That's a good answer right there, because he's the one that's going to be
Postal
fighting.
beat Ramirez.
All right. Listen, Kevin. We got
What
now.
he
We got
calls
to move
Taylor
on.
Postal?
I
Is that what he's
don't know.
doing?
I think he's on the fucking moonshine, man. All right, take it
Postal
easy.
beat him.
All right, take it easy, Kevin. Thank you
Postal
for your
beat
call,
him.
man. Thank you for your call, man. Take it easy. Well, there you go. That's his patented fart. That's his patented fart noise there. All right, let's go to another phone call here. 442. You're on the air. 442. What's on your mind?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, man. What's on your mind?
Can you hear me? All right.
Loud and clear, brother.
So the fight was fantastic. Thank you. I thought the fight was good. It was clear to me Billy Joe Saunders was actually outboxing Canelo. I'll be honest with you. He was outboxing Canelo. He knows how to control distance. Let me tell you the biggest crime Billy Joe Saunders has committed, not having power. If you have less than a 50% knockout ratio, you're not going to beat Canelo. It's not going to happen. You have to have enough power, enough pop to make him take you seriously. Mayweather had that. Mayweather, although towards the end of his career, he wasn't knocking people out, but at the start of his career, the time that he was a pretty boy Floyd prior to, Money Mayweather, he was knocking every opponent out. So,
yeah, his power is at 130, 135.
Yeah. So like the fact that, Canelo broke his eye socket, that was what made him quit. I don't like the fact that Billy Joe Saunders is incredibly rude and has no restraint when he speaks. However, as far as being a boxer, I was impressed with what he did, and he did the right thing getting out of the fight, because I could tell that his cheek caved in. You could see there was something very wrong. The whole shape of the cheek had changed. So what else can he do? Also, I think it's incredibly strange that Canelo was at 147 before, then he went up to 154, and now 168, and he's still knocking people out. Whenever that happens, it's always a little strange to me.
Yeah, man, for sure. That there's something interesting going on there. I'm going to keep my eye on that. I'll tell you that much. You brought up the great point about needing to have power, because I thought Billy Joe Saunders has decent power to keep people get his respect, but Canelo's so strong in there and so good defensively too. He's going to need to fight somebody that's going to make him think twice. Oh, snap. Because I thought maybe Saunders, at least with that jab, was going to be able to get it done. And even though he landed a couple of times, just wasn't enough, man. And he ended up getting his eye socket caved in. So, caller, we're on a bit of a delay here with you, but thank you for your call, man. And we'll catch you on the next one, all right, man? Good call.
BDA, too, real quick with the with Canelo's style, too, with Canelo's style of the K stance and then keeping the elbows up in front of him and the high guy covering his face. If you're a jabber and a mover, I mean, you're gonna have to punch around. You're gonna have to punch around his guard. And what happens when you punch around the guard? Gonzalo gave a good breakdown about how when you do that, you leave yourself open, and that's what he's hoping people will do. So yeah, no, he's hard to beat right now. Just a pure jabber, even a hard jabber is gonna beat him. You're going to need more punches.
Exactly. Absolutely. You need a full arsenal. That's why I think Charlo could give him a decent fight, but we'll get to that if it ever comes up. 470, you're on the air. 470, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, guys? I think you guys led off the show asking about Billy Joe Saunders and whether he quit. And you read his previous comments about Dubois and how he would fight till his pulse stopped. Mm-hmm. I kind of disagree with something that, actually I do disagree with what Steve Kim said about giving fighters the option to retire in a fight like MMA. Mm-hmm. In MMA, when you're in a joint lock, the pain is just extreme. You could break your arm or your leg. If you're being choked out, you just literally go unconscious and die. The reason why in boxing traditionally there's been a hard resistance against fighters, retiring, is that The culture was started where it's either either you're knocked out, the ref stops the fight, or your trainer throws in the towel. If we start to create a culture in boxing where it's okay to give up, you're incentivizing the fighter to just leave the fight as soon as it gets tough, and it's a slippery slope. And by the time we get to the end of that slope, it's going to turn into a game of a point match where whoever lands the first hard shot wins the fight, and the other guy gives up because he's in pain. And that might sound extreme, but there's a reason why that standard has been put in place in boxing. Is because if you start giving fighters a way out, they're going to take the way out, especially if they're being highly paid.
Well, I just, to Steve's defense, because I've talked to him enough on the subject and heard him speak a lot on that subject, that he's not talking about giving them like they should have the right just to bail out at any time. He's talking about from covering it for decades, he's seen fighters get to that point where there's no chance they're going to win the fight. Now they're just staying in there to take the extra beatings. You know what I mean? I grew up with a kid who did that, and I bet you looking back, you probably wish you didn't, because that affects you later in life too. So I think Steve's saying that, especially brave cornermen. You get those brave corner guys, talking to the guy to keep him in there. And I think Steve's saying, like, it shouldn't be part of the culture where if somebody's taking a fucking ass whooping, and even you've probably been at home going, I really shouldn't be carrying on. He's not going to win this thing. I think that's what Steve's saying. It shouldn't, because a lot of kids will stay in there because they're worried about what people are going to say, which kind of sucks. Anyways, I just want to add that.
But the question is, are we watching boxing because we want to see who's going to win and just find out who's going to win, or do we want to see a fight? See, those are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Are we watching it because we want a performance in a fight, or we just wanted to find, okay, oh well, Canelo would have won anyway, so let's just terminate the fight. There's a lot of fights that I've watched, I'm sure you guys have watched, where things swung around. I mean, even in the fight yesterday, it looked like Canelo was going to knock this dude out easy, and then Billy Joe Saunders started winning rounds. So, we can't, I just don't like the idea of assuming what's going to happen. And I mean, and also on the undercard, there were two fights where one guy was capped behind the head. He made a big deal out of it. I think it was the Frank Sanchez fight. And he was just rolling around on the canvas, acting, pretending like, he'd been hit with a sledgehammer in the back of the head. And then I think the fight before the main event, there was a Japanese fighter who the referee just stopped the fight. So my issue with boxing now is I just think there's a culture being created where it's okay for guys to just, I got hit hard and, I wouldn't have had a chance to win anyway, or referees just prematurely stopping fights. And I just think that leads into what you guys were talking about with Ryan Garcia, where I think even before, what's his name? Marvelous Marvin Hagler once said, it's tough to get up in the morning and soak pajamas. It's always been tough for guys who won a title or made a couple $1 million paydays to get the motivation to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just feel like there's a culture in boxing just slowly creeping in where it's like, oh, it's okay not to fight. And if you don't feel like it, don't train. If you want to quit, just go ahead. I mean, it's not a big deal. And I just think,
what prevented that for years, though, was the mob. The mafia ran boxing. For decades it ran boxing. If you did that, if you quit on your stool, and that could affect a bet, because remember, gambling was the undercurrent that ran the sport. So it's kind of like a whole new culture too, since the mob's been taken out in the late '80s. A lot of new things have happened. Like the fighters didn't do that because they were afraid they would either never would have got put in another fight. They would have said, "Fuck you, you're done," or who knows what could have happened. But last night, though, I would listen. I agree with you. I think there's a lot of things about this sport are going the wrong direction. But last night, that dude's auric bone was fucking shattered. He couldn't continue. It would have been stupid to continue. Anyway.
Well, if I may, I just
want to ask you guys. I just got a question. You guys can run it. But here's the thing, right? Billy Joe Saunders. I know he's just talking. You're going to say he was just talking shit, but he said what he said after the Dubois fight. He said he would fight until the last pulse of his heartbeat.
Yep.
He said he would go out two shattered eyes, two broken eye sockets, broken teeth, broken jaw. He said so. That's what he said, and he conveyed that.
He's embarrassed. He said that now.
When it came down to do it in the ring, when it came down to demonstrate it in the ring, he didn't want to do it.
That's right.
So, I mean,
yeah,
they're putting, I mean, that standard is out there, and they're claiming that they're living by it. But when it comes down to show it and prove it, I remember, I'll just leave with this last thing, with the Vitaly Klitschko against Lennox Lewis. He could have lost his eye. They stopped the fight. The doctor stopped the fight, and you saw the rage in Vitaly. He wanted to continue right there. He wanted to continue right there. He begged Lewis for a rematch after that fight.
Well, caller,
that's
let me,
what people. That's what people want to see. They want to see a guy who wants to continue. They don't want the fight terminated by the fighter.
The point has been made, and I agree with you because look, it's a difficult thing to establish. That's the point I've been trying to make with the Joshua Ruiz one video that I did, but I don't think I really quite got the question out. There's like, what's the standard that we should have for fighters for them to be able to say, you know what? Enough is enough. I got to pull out. Because like you said, with the Billy Joe Saunders, here's the thing. Fighters can talk all they want before the fight, but then they have to live with what they said. And right now, Billy Joe Saunders is getting clowned for all the talking he did about, well, I would fight with 2 broken eye sockets and a shattered testicle and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden he goes in there and he gets 1 broken eye socket. He says, you know what? That's enough for me. So he's got to live with the consequences now. And that's why I think it also could set a precedent for some of these fighters to think, maybe I shouldn't talk so much before a fight because anything can happen. On the other end of in regards to when is it okay to quit, look, the Europeans always had a bit of a different point of view, especially in Eastern Europe, compared to the here in the United States or Canada, North America, Mexico, Puerto Rico, all that. For them, they don't consider quitting actual quitting because for them, the sport is still just a sport like anything else. Because here in North America, we think of boxing as a combat sport and not just any old regular sport. So for a lot of us here, quitting means, shit, you didn't give it your all. But I do think that there are circumstances where a guy should be able to quit. Look, Arthur Abraham was European, and when he suffered a bad broken jaw against Edison Miranda, he didn't quit. He kept on going. And I think he fought like 4 or 5 rounds, I think, maybe more, with a horrendously broken jaw, just blood spewing out of his mouth. And he kept on going. So it's difficult for...
And ended up winning.
And ended up winning, exactly. So I think it's difficult. Look, I understand why you would... I do agree. We need to put a certain standard on fighters. But that standard can vary depending on the wild action that we see in boxing. It's unpredictable. Sometimes a guy... Like, what was the fight where one guy... Israel Vasquez versus Rafael Marquez. Vasquez quit, and people were, it was a good fight. What, he quit? Turns out he had a shattered nose that if he would have continued, it could have cost him some complications down the line. And not for nothing, but Israel Vasquez, he ain't doing too well right now in Mexico. I think he's blind in one eye from everything. Yeah, so see, that's the thing, though. These guys, they're not, he went to war with Marcus 2 more times, or 3 more times, and actually beat him 2 of those times. So, but now he's got to live with the consequences of some of the stuff he's put on the line. So it depends, man. Like Steve Kim said, this sport ain't for the faint of heart, especially for the participants. Yeah.
And there's certain injuries, like a broken hand, believe it or not. You know how you actually, if you break your hand and it kills the punch, and how you get past that? And it sucks. You got to hit somebody like 3 or 4 more times. It's savage to say, you know what I mean? It's carnage, but that's what you do because it actually goes numb. The pain gets to that point that you have to just stop working. Do you want to really do it? It's up to you. But there's certain things like broken nose. I can't see quitting for that unless you blow too hard and you swell both your eyes shut. I think someone quitting for a broken nose is suspect.
All right. Well, there you have it. That's one point of view right there. Caller, thank you for your call, man. You certainly raised a good point. I don't know where to go on that one, man. Because again, like you said, it's a fight. We don't want to go with, well, what if he would have continued? No, we want to see him continue. But
Do you remember Pacquiao? Do you remember Pacquiao Marquez, the first fight?
Yeah.
Where Pacquiao knocked down Marquez 3 times in the first round.
That's right. Yeah.
That fight could have been stopped right there the first time, and there would have been no. They had 4 fights. There would have been no rematch, no 3rd fight, no 4th fight. If the referee could have stopped the fight, and people would have said it's justified. So I'm just, like I said, me personally, I err on the side of not stopping the fight. I like to see the referee do it, or the trainer the white towel. I'm not. That's the side that I'm on. So, but anyway, I think it's a good discussion. I just want to.
Well, caller, to agree to you, right? Mickey Ward's even said with guys today, with referees today, like his first fight with Gotti, that probably would have been stopped a few times by the guys today. Definitely, I think Reeds. Well, they've also installed new. The commissions are also telling these refs, to do that more. Like Steve informed us that, I hated that stop, move over here, move over there shit. I don't like that, but I guess they were told to start enacting that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's. I mean, look, listen. I'm with the caller a little bit. I do want to see people give it a go, but I will make exceptions if it's a bad injury. But anyway, caller, we gotta move on. Thank you for your call. Thank you for the food for thought, and call back next time. Definitely enjoy the call, man.
Good call.
Yeah, take it easy, man.
All right.
But you are a bloodthirsty savage, though, BD.
Well, we all are.
That's not yeah.
Come on, you are too, man. Come on. Hey, don't make me go back.
Dude, I am. Of course I am.
Don't make me go back to your second Renaissance stories, man. Come on. They're out there for everybody to hear. All right, let's go to a phone call here. 40. Hold on, it's loading up. All right, 407. You're on the air. 407. What's on your mind?
What's up, Chica? So we're talking about whether fighters should be sissies or warriors, huh? Or the perfect balance?
All right, Bolt Hype. Go ahead, man. Take it away, Bolt
Who's
Hype.
this?
It's Bolt Hype.
Oh, Bolt Hype. All right.
Wait, who?
Isn't this Bolt Hype?
No, this is Boricua.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were okay. You sounded a little bit like Bolt Hype. All right, go ahead, Boricua. What's on your? What would you say? So you want us? Yeah, we're bloodthirsty pirates in a way, man. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes. You disagree or?
I just think everybody on their behalf needs to know when it needs to stop. The trainer, the ref, because there's been instances where the ref doesn't know when to stop the fight and or the corner. There was one fight. Which one was it? No, I'm not going to use that example because the guy fought back. Dang it. There's been fights recently where they keep on saying continuous beating, and it should have been stopped after like multiple knockdowns. Like, for example, the Algieri fight.
Mm-hmm.
Manny knocked him down 6 times. Yeah, Algieri was responding, but come on, there was no way he was going to win the scorecard. They should have just dropped. They should have just dropped the fight after like the 4th or 5th knockdown, in my opinion.
I agree in a sense, but the way listen, you
what
gotta give Algieri. These fighters, they wanna go the distance because they don't want to have a loss on a stoppage loss. It can affect their marketability in the long run. And look, I don't like the whole marketing aspect of boxing of how one loss sort of destroys your career, but for a lot of these guys, that's the way to look at them, man. They take certain pride in, hey, I went 12 rounds with Manny Pacquiao, even though he dropped me 5-6 times. But I agree with you. I mean, look, that's why I was telling the other caller.
Sure.
That's what we were telling the other caller. It's a fine line. And for us to decide what the line is, it's way above our pay grade, man. But what do you think? What do you...
Well, being dropped and being hurt's two different things. You can get dropped and not get, like, rung real bad.
Here's my thing, and I keep on saying this repetitively. I'm sorry if I know you guys with this phrase, but this is why they should promote more the weight classes or the weight classes like 40 and 115, because everybody's fighting each other, and an O doesn't mean anything at all. They just go at it, and it's like watching the old times again. And I wasn't around back then. Like, I got into boxing a little later, if I'm going to be honest, like a couple years ago. But whatchamacallit? I'm more a fan of the old stuff, because everybody was beating the crap out of each other, and it was fun and entertaining while it lasted. And now it's just like, oh, no.
Well,
no,
Carla, wouldn't you? Nope, well, there's a certain person who glorified the O, right? Floyd Mayweather glorified it, and it's become a stain on boxing that's going to take years to wash away.
That's for sure. Oh, for sure. I know that. Floyd, in my opinion, yeah, the whole O thing, that's the least of my problems when it comes to him. He's bringing attention to the sport, lots of it, in the worst ways possible, and I think that's the big issue right now. And he's kind of setting the example for these young fighters. This is the way of boxing. Fight a bunch of clowns. No. Look at May 22nd. God willing, it's going to be fight of the year. If not, it's probably going to be Cholatito Estrada 2 and or 3. And, well, that's if it happens. But, like, these guys are beating the snot out of each other. No one's promoting it as much as they're promoting these not as hardworking people. No offense. I respect anyone that steps into the ring. But come on, like, these guys are working their butts off, throwing over 100 punches per round. I'm using the Chocolatito Estrada example, or the Rungvisai fight as well. And they're not getting the same credit that Floyd Mayweather and Logan Paul are getting. I just think that's disgusting, in my opinion.
I agree.
Well, listen, I was listening here to the conversation. I had to judge for about 2 seconds. But look, it's a fine line, like I keep saying. and I don't think any one of us is going to come up with a suitable system of when a fighter should quit or when it's acceptable, when it's not. I guess we got to go with experience and we got to go with a little bit of sympathy, but at the same time, we got to be a little harsh with some of these fellas. Like the Arabs say, when you raise a child, if you pick up sand and you squeeze it too tight, the sand drops out of your out of your hand. If you don't squeeze it too hard, it still drops. But if you squeeze it just hard enough, just a little bit, you get a good balance. So I think that's what I'm trying to get at here. Good balance for everything. That's the key to life. Anyway,
well, like a good let's point out a good quit, right? Wouldn't you say that would be Rigondeaux? That was inexcusable. He wasn't hurt. He had to lie about a hand. He quit because he was embarrassed. That's the worst kind of quit.
well, yeah, man. But look at that all-time great like Duran. He came back from that. Even though people still to this day refer to quitting as no mass because of him, but there is like the Christian religion says there is a chance for redemption for everybody, but it's up to the fighters to look and grab that redemption. Anyway, Boricua, thank you for your call, man. We'll catch you in the next one, all right, man?
All right, you take care. God bless. All of you.
You too, man.
Later, Boricua. I was gonna say, BDA, I just thought of something. It's also like a case-by-case basis. But just think, look, Inoue got a shattered orbital bone as well, but he had to continue. Okay, why? Because he's a tough son of a bitch for one. Another, because he was the champion, the A side, the guy, you know, with the higher upside, you know. So you wouldn't think that the guy that's supposed to win, in this case the champion, that he would have quit because he got that orbital bone. That if he would have quit, he would have lost. He would have lost his titles. So just think if this switch turned the tables. If Canelo would have got that broken orbital bone instead of Saunders, what's the choice that Canelo have to make? Does he continue or does he quit? Because if he quits, the roads to disputed and all this go out the window. It depends what you got on your plate. Oh yeah, Billy Joe Saunders quit, but did he quit because he knew that if he retired on his stool, he was going to make all this money that is already promised for taking the fight under the contract? Why? Because he had a belt too. But you see what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, it's the context, like you're saying. Also, Inoue, he had the firepower to take Donaire out, and on top of that, like you said, he's just all the things that were weighing in on him. He couldn't quit. And he didn't want to quit, but that's the thing, though. Not all fighters are made alike. See, this is the other thing we have to remember. When people say, "Yeah, but
you nailed it right there. The context, right? It's
exactly
the context.
too. Yeah, and some people say, "Well, this guy didn't quit, so that guy shouldn't have quit either." Not everybody's created equally, man. Some people have balls, and some people don't. Some people have balls because of certain circumstances, like Gonzalo said. Other people feel like they have nothing to gain, so they decide to just quit. I mean, it's all different, man. It all depends. It's hard to fault a guy when he has a severe injury. You know what I mean? It's a case-by-case basis, I suppose. I think that's the easy answer.
Yeah, but the fact that he said, I wouldn't quit even if I had 2 broken eye sockets, definitely is not a good look. You know what I mean? For him to say that, those talk about words that come back to bite you.
Exactly, yeah.
If I believed in karma, this would be like a perfect example of karma, but I don't.
You don't, yeah. But you know what, Jimmy? That's what
90 seconds.
Gee, sorry about that. Silence is golden, right, guys? That's why maybe, you know.
Well,
yeah.
I said it before. Social media is the devil and the angel. It's good for boxing because you would think they could do more self-promotion. They could get, you know, it's a way to talk to fans. You know what I mean? But it's become obviously more than that. Now it's become a lot of haters, vitriol. It makes people choose sides. And then a lot of these fighters think because they're popular on social media that they don't have to fight. Like that's a substitute. Well, I mean, I've actually heard look at, all right, Ellaby. Oh, he sells out 18. He's selling out fucking stadiums. I mean, like that's what you're gauging your fighter's success now by how many fucking seats he's selling. First off, he didn't sell it out, but do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
not who he's fighting, not what belts he's fighting for. It's by the numbers of the fans he's putting in the stands. It's like really.
Absolutely, man. It's a mess that social media allows a lot of voices to go out there and a lot of opinions to be weighed in, but then also you got to weigh that against the actions. By the way, we got to go soon, but I promised people that I was going to put up a StreamYard link. So I got Gypsy, you there? Gypsy Boxing Style.
Yo, what's up, guys?
How you doing, man? Look, Gypsy, we're talking right now. We're talking about the We're going back to the Billy Joe Saunders about when is it okay to quit. Now, again, I don't want to put your whole life out there, but I know you've seen a little action in your life. How do you feel about boxers quitting, and was this one justified here?
I think it was justified because there's different types of fractures, bro. There's different types of orbital bone breaking. When you see like Kilbrook, for instance, his orbital bone broke, but his facial structure was intact. This fool's cheekbone was indented into his face, bro. I mean, I can imagine the pain he was going through, but all the stuff that he was going through. That's why he was like he was like looking down on the canvas after he couldn't even get up off the stool. Call him a quitter. You can call him a quitter because all the stuff that he said. I got nothing against that shit. You can call him a quitter, but you really don't know the damage that he really took. But look at Daniel Dubois. That to me was quitting. He said he got his orbital bone broken. He didn't get his orbital bone broken. It was all bullshit. It was just a cover up, up, bro, for his shit.
Yeah,
that's what it pretty
did
much
we ever
was.
find out if that's true? Did he or didn't he? Is that so?
I don't
That's
think he did, bro.
actually.
I
Did
really
you find
don't
out
think he
that
did.
wasn't
Honestly,
true?
I don't think he did, bro. And I heard a lot of stories behind it that
Okay.
proves otherwise.
All right. I
Yeah.
was just wondering because I was always curious, and nobody ever talked about like, did he have surgery? Did he have a doctor's report? Because if he didn't have a broken auricle bone and he just stopped because he got a little bit of a scratch retina or the swelling freaked him out, that's not a good sign. To me, that's quitting.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's what I think. He got poked in the eye, and he just took a knee. I was like, what the fuck? You definitely quit. But Billy's case is a little bit different, man. He got hit with a solid shot that I kept saying that he should avoid that shot. If he avoids it, he's all good. But he kept leaning with his face down, trying to, cover up with the guard. You shouldn't do that. You don't block with your face. You
And
just
he
don't
never,
do that.
he
I'd rather
never
get in the
changed.
body
Remember,
with the-
he never changed, Gypsy. He never bent to the right. Always kept bending to the left. And I'm like,
yeah, but
don't you realize
otherwise
who
he
you're in
was
there with?
doing good, man. I think the last 3 rounds I gave it to him. The first 4, it was like I gave like maybe 2. You could probably even give 1 of those 4 rounds to Billy. He was doing good. He was getting his moment. I think he got carried away. I think he started getting a little too confident that he could probably take Canelo's punches, and that's when all the shit fucking hit
Yeah,
the fan.
Gypsy, go back and watch it, dude. At the the 3rd round, he hit him with a body shot. From there on in, Saunders changed. He took all the weight off his back foot. He would throw power shots, and his left foot would literally swing around to show he wasn't putting any, he wasn't sitting on his punches at all. I think Canelo, the first body shot he hit him with, I think changed Saunders' whole outlook right there.
By the way, Kevin from Chicago is saying correct boxing style. Correct him on what? I didn't hear what.
Correct on what?
I don't know. Well, maybe he'll clarify. By the way,
Anyways, I mean, to me, the last 3 rounds he was doing. He was actually outboxing Canelo, and Canelo was getting frustrated. He got that. If you look at Canelo's face, he did get bruised up. He did get hurt, and there was a point where Saunders, maybe like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, he was taking the center of the ring, unlike before where Canelo was taking the center of the ring. But then he ended up, he got too carried away, too confident, and Saunders' downfall is after the 6th round, the 7th on up. Well, maybe at this case, it's 8th on up. He starts like being sloppy a little bit, and I expected him to be not sloppy, but
yeah, man.
Yeah,
he did get
the sloppiness.
Saunders.
Well, I mean, if you go back to the Martin Murray fight, which was his last fight prior to this one, he started off being pretty uncharacteristically aggressive against him, and then by the end of the fight, he was swinging and flailing. So he's not a guy that's used to putting pressure, and that's what happens with these fellas that aren't used to fighting that way. Is they can sustain it when they're fresh, but as soon as they start getting tired, whoops, all the other shit goes out the window. Dimitri Andrade,
you hear his coach. You hear his coach.
You go back to bad habits when you're tired.
Exactly.
Yeah. I was saying, his coach, if you hear it, Mark Tibbs, he said that he didn't follow the game plan. He's trying to stand toe to toe with Canelo at certain cases that he shouldn't have stand toe to toe. He was trying to show that he was trying to put a dominance in the ring. It's just not a good idea. It was not the right game plan. Either way, though, I think he was going to give. If he had pulled it off somehow, let's just say he pulled off, he would have probably been up like a round or two in people's eyes, but he's still not going to get the nod. You saw the scorecards.
Yeah, he wasn't going to get the nod.
I had him. I had Canelo winning, but not as wide as those scorecards. But I still had Canelo winning at that point because he was landing the more effective punches. He wasn't catching anything that was, he was the general. He was the one doing the chasing around. I just don't think Saunders was doing enough. I thought Canelo abandoned the body work a round too early. You could see he figured out his timing by the third, fourth round, and once he had his timing down, then it was time to go for the head. To put him out. And the first time he caught him flush, it was over.
You know what? When he dropped his head, I didn't think it was the most of devastating of punches, but it really was. Look, because when he dropped his head, he timed him like hitting like the double end bag or the reflex bag. Exactly, but even worse, brother. Because it was like a shot to the body, but it wasn't a left hook. You can hurt somebody with the left to the liver, but Canelo's naturally a right-handed. But the thing is, he's not shooting for the liver. With the right hand, he can punch harder, but he's actually punching to the head. So he actually hit him with the dominant hand, with the body shot, but it wasn't a body shot. It was a shot to the head. What he timed was the head coming down. So it's essentially hitting like a body shot, but with the right hand, with the most powerful hand.
Well, Gonzalo, you said it right last night. You said he was shooting for the chest. So he was punching in a straight line. He just was going for that angle, knowing that he was going, because the time before he just missed it when he went for that big uppercut when he on the bend. Remember they said, "Ooh, he missed it by just an inch." And the next time he threw that big uppercut when he bent to the left, and he did. He bent right into it. And if I must have rewatched it 20 times because the sound it makes, it was boosh. And props to him for not going down on that. He's a tough
Yeah, man, I was going to say the same shit. I was going to say the exact thing. He went for that left hook, and he ended up dropping down while he did that left hook, like a looping left hook, and then he got caught. It was like a collision, like his head going down, Canelo's arm going up at the same time.
He caught him.
And the neck shot did hurt him bad. You're right. That neck shot, neck shot, dude, Gonzalo, you ever been punched in the neck? Boxing, it sucks.
Yeah, I've been karate chopped in the neck. Hey,
yeah, he can knock you out, dude.
Yeah. I got dropped with the karate chop. It cut the. Well, that's another story. I was drunk. Anyways, I was gonna say what I was trying to explain. I don't think it did a good job of doing it. But look, as Canelo's a right-handed, right-hand fighter, he goes to the body. Yes, he can hurt somebody probably more with the left hand because the liver's on the left hand. But he punches harder with the right hand. But the thing with the right hand, you got the kidneys. You could hurt somebody easier to the liver. But he didn't hit the kidneys. He hit the head. So he's essentially throwing a hard body punch to the head, not the kidneys or the liver. And he timed them. That's why it was his best punch.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Dude, he was so confident after that punch. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Gypsy.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, go ahead.
No, go, Gypsy.
Okay.
No, I was just going to say he was so confident. Oh, sorry, brother. All right, go.
We can't. Just go ahead. Just say your shit.
I was just going to get out of the way. I was going to say to Gonzalo's point, what he said last night in BDA 2, he was so confident when, just like I said, hitting a baseball. We've all done it. You got the meat of the bat perfect on it. He walked right to the ring. They pulled the stool, and he shook his head. Nah, he's not coming back. Talk about fight. He knew that bone was, well, first off, the sunk in the face, but he knew when he hit him, it was devastating. That was all, brother. You go.
Yeah, I was going to say, no one is going to beat this guy in 168 or 160. No one. Charlo might even get stopped. This guy's getting stronger and stronger every time he fights. What I saw in him in this fight was not the skill. His skill has improved, but against a back foot fighter like Lara or Billy Joe Saunders, not much of an improvement. It was more of the power that he's improving on. He's gaining a shit ton every time he fights, man. And that's why he's aiming for Bietrebev. he's aiming. The coach is saying it too. He's aiming for Bieterbev. They're going to go for Bieterbev next time around. After I guess he unifies all the belts and becomes undisputed for 168.
Better be of his chin's questionable, so I can understand why he'd go that way because for his size, I put it this way: he's one of those dudes. His chin isn't as strong as he is powerful. You know what I mean? Like if you used to get caught with the power he throws, I think he'd go down. And let me just point out Charlo. I tell you right now, if that was next on the docket, he was fighting Charlo in September. My prediction was Canelo 8th win last night. My prediction for that would be probably Canelo by 5th round knockout. I think he'd stop Charlo even quicker. I'm just being honest.
All right.
I mean, Charlo's a little more durable. I'll give him a little bit of benefit of doubt. Maybe he still goes up to like 8, 9 and gets stopped over there.
Maybe, man.
It's a little more durable.
We'll see, man. By the way, we're gonna go, but we got Precise dropping by the stream. You're Precise. Is that you or
very hittable though? Oh, Precise is in.
I don't know if that's Precise.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear
I
everybody?
Can hear you.
I hear you. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Gypsy. I mean, like, it doesn't matter who Canelo fights. He could go up to heavyweight, and if the fight gets signed, he's gonna win. Like, I could tell you that right now with confidence. He could go up to 360 pounds if that weight class even exists. He could if they sign a fight with Ngannou, he's gonna beat Ngannou, guys. Like, I just believe that. Believe you me. Canelo is Ginger Jesus. You can't stop him. Period. It's impossible.
He's got the hookup, is what you're saying. But
Ngannou's not much of a boxer, though, bro. Realistically.
Yeah, no, but he's a fucking giant. No, but look, listen, Precise. I mean, at this point, I mean, Billy Joe Saunders was in no win situation with you on this one because even if the fight, like, because you don't believe the fight is legit, I don't think. So even if Billy Joe Saunders went in there, he wasn't going to win the fight, and even then, you also said Billy Joe Saunders wasn't good enough to beat him. So I don't understand why you would stay up to watch this fight.
When I didn't stay up, I watched it this morning. When people say a fight is fixed, like, I don't know why a lot of you guys get so triggered when you know the fight is fixed, because all that you need for the fight to be fixed is for the judges to be on Canelo's side. And I think you'd have to be dishonest to say that anybody has a chance of getting a decision against Canelo. I mean, conceivably, if someone knocks him down 3 times and takes 12 rounds from him, yeah, they'll probably give that guy the decision. But other than anything like that happening, and it's not going to happen with this dude's chin, no one can get a decision. That's a pretty fair thing, reasonable thing to say. And if we agree, then that means the fight is fixed. That's all that means. Now, if someone says the fight is fixed and they have some other ideas, then, you know, we could nail down the details as to what they mean. But all that you need for a fight to be fixed is to have two judges in the pocket, and that's it. The fights are fixed. So the reason why I don't find Canelo fights at all intriguing, especially against guys who can't punch, is because you know off the bat they're not winning. So it's very fair to say the fight is fixed. How, to what degree exactly, who knows? No one knows. But I think we could all agree that no one's getting a decision against this guy. So what's the point? Where's the intrigue? You know what I mean? I don't get where the intrigue is when you know the other guy's not gonna win. And I know we're gonna go. So just one last thing I want to say. Just a hypothetical scenario. Let's say the fight was in the UK and Billy Joe Saunders had British judges, right? And a lot of people said he was in the fight. Some people said he was winning. I disagree, but let's say that that's true also. Now, Canelo cracks him and he breaks his eye socket, whatever. Bullshit, I don't think so, but whatever. Do you think Billy Joe Saunders quits? Probably not. He probably tries to run out the rest of the fight, hoping for a decision on his home court. So when we say the fight is fixed,
I don't know that.
Well, but he'd have more of a chance, right? You think that's reasonable? He'd have more of a chance of winning.
Yeah, but I mean,
he had like.
I'm going with the fact that when as soon as he felt that pain, he was switching back to right. He was switching right because he couldn't. You could tell that the injury was bothering him. So whether he was in England,
but that's not the point I'm trying to make. The point let's say it's a little bit less severe. Mm-hmm. It's not quite that bad, and he's still whatever. We've seen fighters quit in far less dramatic circumstances. The point I'm trying to make is that if you take away the fix is very implicit. Okay, we know about the judges. We could agree on that, but a guy that goes into the fight against Canelo, especially not a puncher, who knows he can't get a decision, how discouraging is that after he gets an injury, right? So whereas if he were fighting at home and maybe had the home crowd behind him and maybe didn't have that dehydration clause and all this other shit that goes on behind the scenes, right? If he understood, maybe he would delude himself. But if he, in his own head, understood that, look, I'm in the UK, I'm doing well, I could get this decision, I don't think he would have quit. I think it would have taken a lot more for him to quit. So the only thing that I'm saying is that just going into the fight against Canelo, knowing that you can't get a decision, is very discouraging, and it takes something out of the opponent. That's what I'm saying.
Well, he shouldn't have taken the fight in the first place. And if we're going to get into the whole ifs and buts about it, I'm still looking at this fight sometimes, and I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if Canelo he's always going to be getting the decision. I mean, Timothy Bradley got the decision over Pacquiao, and he didn't deserve that. And Pacquiao was...
Yeah, look at Lara. Lara, actually, when I watched it like 2 days ago, the Lara fight again, and Lara edged it out by 1 round. They gave it a split decision to Canelo. It was pretty fucking close. I mean, if somebody can legitimately outbox him for 12 rounds, which is...
Golovkin did. Golovkin did. In the first and the second fight,
but the thing with
arguably.
Golovkin, though, bro, is the thing that he stood there in the pocket and he got hit a couple of times where, you know, it was kind of hard for some of these judges to actually give those rounds.
Okay, you're just being dishonest. I'm not even going to.
I'm not being. Look,
the judges fuck Triple G. Call. I mean, Gypsy, you know that.
I know. I was Triple G. Look, I was with Triple G. I'm just being realistic. Let's say if Fury with Klitschko, right? Fury barely got touched by Klitschko. You know what I mean? Like, that's why, even though the scorecards were still like kind of off, they still gave it to Klitschko. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like, right. It was so far off that they couldn't have given it to Fury. You know, not have given it to him. That's what I meant.
Well, listen, Precise brings up the good point about the judges, but like we said, I mean, how is this being worked out? Is he paying the judge? Obviously, it's not him who's doing it. And if indeed the judges are being, it's not that, I don't know how easy it is to just give up a bad scorecard, but that's not the point I'm trying to make here. The point is, at the end of the day, we don't know if he's already got everything set up his way when it comes to the scorecards. And a guy can lose, man. Like I said, Pacquiao wants, the fuck, he didn't even deserve the win against one of the biggest names in boxing, and he got it.
Well, I think sometimes there's the home cooking. Like, when you have 73,000 fans, sometimes, you know, and that's a fix. If they're led into it being like, well, I'm going to give it to Canelo, you know, just a lot of times the home cooking. And if they do that, if they're not scoring it fair, if they're trying to give home field advantage to people, that's a fix. So, you know what I mean? It could be as simple as that, where they're not scoring it fairly, or it could be straight up someone's fucking slipping of money. Because that's another thing. These judges make shit money. They really do. If they paid them better, maybe they'd be less likely to fucking rob people, you know, or just take fixes.
Yeah, because look, Precise dropped that. But look, if he wants to do another episode on this, I'd be willing to do a whole other episode, because people seem to enjoy it, about whether Canelo, because he said that judges are that the fight is fixed on the judges, which I can agree with. But I know he's going farther than that. He's not just saying that the score, because he's talking about fighters being paid to take a dive and fighters paid to not to punch him in the face. So we gotta go on that, man. If that's what he's saying, then that's what has to be discussed, and not just the judges.
I don't believe that much. I don't go that far. Like, Kovalev's fight was not like that for me. But anyways, I was gonna say one more thing before I leave. The only guy that I see giving Canelo the works and possibly beating him, that's a big possibility, Bivol. That's it. No one else.
Not even Beterbiev?
Not even Beterbiev, because Beterbiev's chin suspect and his boxing skill is not the same caliber. It's good, it's great, but it's not the same caliber as Canelo's. On top of that, and Canelo's fucking never been knocked down, never been. Yes, it's just I don't see Beterbiev beating Canelo with the juice that this fool's on. I just don't see it. I see a guy that like Bivol that's has better footwork than Saunders. You know, in some cases, I like to put him as pound for pound number one, but I'm not going to say that because he's not there yet. I won't put him there yet. But that's the only dude that I can see him pull this off, bro. I don't see anyone else, not anyone in this division, in 3 divisions, pulling this off.
Well, there you go. That's I'm surprised you would pick him by
Which divisions? Which 160, 168, 175? You have them.
Yeah. That's 175. Bivol. Maybe if Bivol can make 168, he says he can make it. I don't know if he can, but yeah. That's the only
The
dude
thing
that I
is,
see,
he's
man. I don't see
a
anyone
very
else.
he hasn't shown me a lot of power at 175. Will he even lose what power he has shown? I don't know, which would be dangerous for him at 168. At 175 though, with Beterbiev, even though his chin, which I agree, I think is suspect for his power, he's still used to taking big shots. You know what I mean? Like that's still a big difference. 175. So that's the only
I
question. Will
agree.
Canelo
I
be able
agree.
to?
The pop on
That's the only
Beterbiev is
question.
different, and the shots that he gets from the fighters that he gets is different as well. But Canelo, I think he can walk him down as well, bro. And he's just the defense that he'll bring to the table, and then the power shots that come afterwards with it. It's just I don't see Beterbiev. He'll survive 12 rounds. It's not. I don't think he gets knocked out, but
Well,
Bivol
listen,
on
man.
the other end would make it very complicated, very hard to even get touched up by Canelo.
I think sometimes it's a guy.
Because
Sometimes it's a guy you least expect, man, that gives the number one guy, a seemingly invincible fighter, a run for his money. Because look, what's his name? Billy Joe Saunders was giving a good run, so you never know. By the way, Luke Peterson, shout out to Luke Peterson. Yes, I forgot because we had a lot to get to, but he contributed. He says, "Ask Gonzalo about the karate chop." Well, look, Gonzalo's he's out of this Discord right now, so we'll ask him on the next one, and we do have to go. Because I wanted to do like a bit of a short one here, but we went on for 3 hours. So it was a good show, though. It was excellent. I liked it. A little bit of drama. Steve Kim called in as well. We got into some boxing. People called in. So very happy with the way we went. Shout out to all of you fellas. Don't forget to hit the like, hit the like, hit the like. Don't forget Gonzalo's. If you got a couple of shekels, you can donate to the GoFundMe page for Mateo, Gonzalo's son, who's been in the hospital. But listen, hey, good news. Like Gonzalo said, that they're taking the tube away. So man, that's extremely good news right there because it seemed to be on and off and off. What?
I was gonna say a much better ratio for the likes. We have 144 watching right now. There's almost 100 likes. No, because I just 116 likes. Nice.
Because that's
that's very important, guys. It's everybody again. I want to reiterate it. Every time you do that, it helps get the show in the algorithm advertised, and it brings in new viewers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Fresh blood. That's all.
And don't forget.
So everybody have a good night, man. Thank you.
And by the way, the thumbs down
Good night,
button,
Jimmy.
thumbs up and thumbs down is the same thing. So if you didn't like the show and you want to leave the thumbs down, do go ahead and do so. It counts like a thumb either way. So that's what they always say in the swinger parties. A thumb, it always counts for something. Listen, shout out to everybody. Get a little bit of info. D. Murray, Vince Vegas, Luke Peterson, Shepherd the Sons, Iceman, Alan R, GB Guthrie, everybody who called in, everybody who donated with the super chat. But again, if you got a couple of shekels you can donate, please do so via to the GoFundMe page. The link is there in the description. Grievous, Chavis, Vic,